Hello and welcome to the Legacy IAS. First of all the best for everyone, those who appeared in this exam, that is Prelims 2025. Okay, so here we are going to analyze the paper first and then subject wise questions will be discussed one by one. But when you already appeared in this exam, that is paper 1, so now you are waiting for the paper 2. So my humble request is that you should not take much stress basically right now. Okay, so you should not focus which questions that you marked incorrect, which question you marked correct, or how many questions they were correct or incorrect. You should not do all these things right now. Just keep calm yourself, reduce your stress and focus for the CSAT paper, and after that you can do all those things. So without any delay, I am going to start over here is, so this is UPSC Prelims 2025 GS paper 1 analysis. So first is, we are going to discuss these things in this present session right now. So first is paper overview. So if you check the paper overview, basically 100 questions, they belongs to almost all the subjects, polity, history, geography, and they were much balanced this time. That means, and one thing I have observed, they were less factual, more application based questions were there, and heavy emphasis that was on conceptual clarity this year. Now, if subject wise distribution, again this is not 100% correct, because it may be possible you consider one question in polity but some other will consider in under current affairs section. So that is the reason is one or two questions here and there can be possible. But एक अगर मोटा मोटा अगर हम आइडिया लें जनरलाइज्ड वे में, then polity से we were having 15 questions, history से that is 13 questions, ज्योग्राफी 13, इकोनॉमी 10, इन्वायरमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी से 10, एंड साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी 10, एंड करंट अफेयर 8. अगेन मैं आपको वही चीज़ फिर से बता रहा हूँ कि आप इस चीज़ को मत मानना कि एग्जैक्टली 10 यहाँ से होंगे, बिकॉज आई टोल्ड यू सम ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस यू कैन कंसीडर लाइक फ्रॉम इन्वायरमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी से आप उसको ज्योग्राफी में डाल दोगे, ज्योग्राफी वाले भाई साहब उसको एक इसमें डाल देंगे. बट वन थिंग वी हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड कि दिस पेपर वाज मच मोर बैलेंस्ड, ए बैलेंस्ड पेपर with no single subject dominations. Polity and environment retained high weightage as usual. Every year basically होता है, तो this year भी उन्होंने वही चीज़ किया है. ठीक है, so this is another important thing. नेक्स्ट थिंग अगर हम देखें डिफिकल्टी लेवल के बारे में, सो डिफिकल्टी लेवल के बारे में इफ़ वी चेक इट, देन द चांसेस आर दैट कि क्वेश्चंस वर बेसिकली ओके मॉडरेट एंड इजी एंड डिफिकल्ट. टॉपिक वाइज एनालिसिस हमने ऑलरेडी कर लिया है कि हाउ मेनी परसेंटेज ऑफ पेपर्स वर देयर, दैट इज ऑलरेडी डन. पॉलिटी एनालिसिस में अगर हम देखें कि फ्रॉम वेयर क्वेश्चंस वर बेसिकली, सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज से भी क्वेश्चन है लाइक इलेक्शन कमीशन, फाइनेंस कमीशन एंड स्कैग. फेडरलिज्म से लाइक गवर्नर, प्रेसिडेंट, सेंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस. पार्लियामेंट्री सिस्टम से लाइक बिल्स, लोकसभा राज्यसभा प्रोसीजर्स. एंड फंडामेंटल राइट एंड ड्यूटी से लाइक 14, 13 कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट्स. ये जो सारे टॉपिक्स हैं दैट वी हैव रिसीव्ड बेसिकली फ्रॉम द पॉलिटी पोर्शन. वहीं पे अगर हम हिस्ट्री की बात करें तो मॉडर्न इंडिया से लाइक रिवोल्ट ऑफ 1857, फ्रीडम मूवमेंट, गांधीयन इरा एंड ब्रिटिश एक्ट्स फॉर्म द मेजोरिटी, एंड क्वेश्चंस टेस्टेड बेसिकली contextual understanding rather than dates. Ancient India में like Mauryan administration, Harappan civilization, Ashokan edicts featured prominently. Archaeological findings and recent discoveries, they were also emphasized in this particular paper. Art and culture से अगर हम देखें तो टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर, क्लासिकल डांस फॉर्म्स एंड भक्ति मूवमेंट वर की एरियाज. कल्चरल सिंथेसिस क्वेश्चंस रिक्वायर्ड इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी नॉलेज. सो दैट वाज योर बेसिकली एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री. और हिस्ट्री मोटा मोटा अगर देखें, वहीं ज्योग्राफिकल एनालिसिस से अगर हम देखें तो क्वेश्चंस वर बेसिकली फ्रॉम द मैपिंग एंड लोकेशंस लाइक लैटिट्यूड, ट्रॉपिक्स, बेसिकली माउंटेन्स, रिवर्स. फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी से जो क्वेश्चंस थे दे वर बेसिकली सॉइल टाइप्स, प्लेट्यू, मानसून पैटर्न्स. एंड इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी से जो क्वेश्चन थे वो एग्रो क्लाइमेटिक जोन्स, नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज यहाँ से. So here actually question tested knowledge, understanding and relationship between physical features and the human activities. Now next is if we come to economy session. इकोनॉमिक एनालिसिस में अगर हम देखें इकोनॉमी में तो आरबीआई फंक्शंस, रेपो रेट जो हमेशा से न्यूज़ में रहता है, एनपीए मैनेजमेंट के बारे में बेसिकली government schemes and budget like recent initiatives, fiscal policies, budget allocation, questions were from that part. Economic indicators like GDP trends, indices, international comparisons, questions were there. And international economics में basically trade relations, global economic institutions. So questions basically belongs to this area in economic analysis. If we move further, like on environment and ecology अगर हम देखें तो questions were from species conservations like Project Tiger, endangered species protections, wetland protections, Ramsar sites, wetland ecology, climate agreement, Paris agreements, UP meetings, biodiversity, hotspots protections, mechanisms. So question basically focused on application of ecological concepts rather than mere facts. नेक्स्ट इज अगर हम साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करें तो क्वेश्चंस वर फ्रॉम स्पेस मिशंस लाइक इसरो अचीवमेंट्स, गगनयान प्रोग्रेस, इमर्जिंग टेक, एआई एप्लीकेशंस, ब्लॉकचेन, क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग, हेल्थ एंड बायोटेक में वैक्सीन डेवलपमेंट्स, डीएनए टेक्नोलॉजी एंड डिजिटल इंडिया, डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड साइबर सिक्योरिटी, दे वर मोर प्रोमिनेंट इन दिस ईयर. करंट अफेयर्स अगर हम देखें तो रिपोर्ट्स एंड रैंकिंग्स लाइक आईएमएफ रिपोर्ट्स, वर्ल्ड बैंक इंडाइसेस, SDG performance metrics, they were tested contextually. Government schemes that launched in 2024-5 appeared with policy implications. International events like G20 outcomes, bilateral summit, global treaties featured prominently. And cross-disciplinary questions, they connected with the current affairs traditionals. They were also were highlight of this year paper. Next thing that we need to know about it, for example, so that is current affair part was there. Now next thing is, if we need to focus over here is like example regarding questions. So in the questions we have already gone through different questions like science and technology mein what type of questions they have asked, that is also we have done here is. So if we check one by one questions about it, like history, modern India, social reform में थे, like questions on Raja Ram Mohan Rai's views, that on traditional philosophical systems, his desire for rational and scientific approaches, these questions were there. And freedom movements and non-cooperation movements basically बहुत important हमेशा के लिए होता है, जैसे from जो 1900 से लेके 1947 का जो टाइम पीरियड होता है, जैसे क्वेश्चंस ऑन द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ नॉन कोऑपरेशन मूवमेंट्स like boycott of this law courts and foreign cloth, strict non-violence, retentions of titles, establishment of panchayat. So these questions were there. So art and cultures में basically Gandharva महाविद्यालय by विष्णु दिगंबर पलूशुगर, questions were from that part. अगर हम आरबीआई की बात करें तो हमेशा क्वेश्चन आरबीआई में आता है, तो क्वेश्चंस बेसिकली ऑन द सोर्स ऑफ इनकम ऑफ आरबीआई, बाइंग सेलिंग गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स, फॉरेन करेंसीज, पेंशन फंड मैनेजमेंट, lending to private companies, printing currency notes, questions were from that area. वहीं पे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम देखें ज्योग्राफी से तो क्वेश्चंस वर फ्रॉम लाइक एग्जांपल क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम कंट्रीज दैट आर मेंबर्स ऑफ नाटो, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड वाटर बॉडीज, क्वेश्चंस अबाउट वाटर बॉडीज लाइक लेक तंगनाइका लेक फॉर एग्जांपल लगून्स एंड हाउ मेनी पासेस थ्रू इक्वेटर, सच टाइप क्वेश्चंस वर देयर. तो मोस्ट ईयर्स दीज वर देयर. Then for example climate pattern में like questions on isotherm, air temperature over land masses and atmospheric gases, questions belongs to that area. Current affair की अगर हम बात करें तो international organizations, sports award questions, that is Gandhi Peace Prize, government schemes, question related to Rashtriya Gokul Mission, again that was very important already. Then questions on panchayat, their levels, eligibility of the membership already. So see, Lokpal, questions regarding power of Lokpal, its chairman, members, questions on judiciary, that is power of President of India regarding judicial review. So questions were from that area. So this year question were more balanced in nature. Difficulty की बात करें तो definitely 36 to 40% questions were difficult side, और अगर हम 76 questions easy plus moderate था. अब कट ऑफ की बात करते हो, definitely we will discuss that later. Regarding the cutoff, okay, right now definitely it is not possible to tell how much cutoff can be possible, but yes, agar aapka if you are getting marks more than 80 plus marks, then you should not worry about that. You can continue your preparations. You should focus now on the CSAT paper only, correct? So this was complete overview of that GS paper 1. Now okay, one by one you will get The discussion of the paper, like from the geography, from other subjects, that will be done actually. So now I am just making this stop over here. Now just wait for few moments only. The geography discussion will start soon.
सो स्टूडेंट्स, जैसा कि यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स 2025 का पेपर आ चुका है, सो आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट द हिस्ट्री क्वेश्चंस. So there are total 15 history questions and this year UPSC has asked easy questions. डायरेक्टली आपके नोट से आए हुए हैं, जो भी क्लासरूम लेक्चर हैं लेगेसी आईएएस के, अगर आपने ढंग से पढ़ा होगा तो सारे क्वेश्चंस आप देखेंगे बेस्ड ऑन योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस हैं इस बार. तो आइए देखते हैं क्वेश्चंस कौन कौन से हैं. एज यू कैन सी हियर द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Now, first question, consider the following statements about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. जी हाँ, राजा राम मोहन रॉय से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन आया हुआ है. राजा राम, now Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who is also called as father of Indian Renaissance, father of Indian Renaissance, और इनके बारे में हमने डिस्कस किया हुआ है अंडर सोशियो रिलीजियस एंड रिफॉर्म मूवमेंट्स. सोशियो रिलीजियस एंड रिफॉर्म मूवमेंट. His most important contribution with respect to the social evils, eradication of social evils. Then he also talked about religious reforms, education for women, and that is why, so he was very much influenced from the Eastern philosophies, and he wanted that Eastern philosophy should be combined with the Western. That is, we need to accept the rational and scientific approach. अब ऐसा इन्होंने क्यों कहा? Because during this period in West already Renaissance was going on, तो इसीलिए उनका फोकस था कि हमें रैशनैलिटी और ईस्टर्न आइडियाज, ईस्टर्न फिलोसॉफिकल सिस्टम जो हैं उन सभी पर फोकस करना चाहिए. एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग हियर इज he talked about the monotheism, believe in one God, and he was also influenced from Christianity. That is why he has written a book called as Gift to Monotheism, है ना? So Tawfatul Muwahhiddin in 1809, and then he formed, to propagate his book, to propagate his ideas, he formed in 1815 he formed Atmiya Sabha. And then he started writing the newspapers and journals, and finally he led to the foundation of Brahmo Samaj in 1828. So here, as you can see here, first statement, he poses great love and respect for the traditional philosophical systems of the East. The statement is correct. And second क्या है? He desired his countrymen to accept the rational and scientific approach and the principle of human dignity and social equality of all men and women. That is why he started a movement. And because of his contribution in 1829, abolition of sati. So question is asking which of these statements given above is or are correct. So option C, both 1 and 2. तो आशा करता हूं आप सभी लोगों ने ये क्वेश्चन सही किया होगा. Then second question, consider the following subjects with regard to non cooperation program. मैंने यहां पर सोर्स भी लिख दिया हुआ है कि कहां से क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है. First, boycott of law courts and foreign clothes. This is correct. This is one of the important program. Second, observation of strict non-violence. अब एक चीज याद रखिएगा, गांधी जी talked about the non-violence. Strict non-violence should be there. समझ में आ रहा है? But ultimately गांधी जी had to suspend this movement on 5th of February 1922 because of Chauri Chaura incident. So this is also correct. Then third statement कह रहा है retention of titles and honors without using them in public. This is wrong. Now renunciation of titles, not retention of titles. Clear? So this is wrong. Then establishment of panchayats for settling dispute. जी हाँ, this movement, because boycott of law courts, everything. So the disputes, so in this movement, non-cooperation movement, focus was on village panchayats for resolving the or settling the disputes. So first, second and fourth, three statements are correct. Now question is asking how many of the above were parts of non-cooperation program. So the correct option will be option C, only 3. As you can see here, the source Bipin Chandra's book India's Struggle for Independence. As you can see here, okay, emphasis on panchayats and all, clear call for surrender of titles, not mere use. Then NCRT, if you go through the class 12th NCRT themes in Indian history part 3rd. Clear? So option C is the right answer. Now, another question, the irrigation divides आरा घाटा, ये हमने क्लास में भी, ये सारी चीज हमने क्लास में डिस्कस की हुई है. तो जितने बच्चे गए हैं पेपर देने, तो आज हिस्ट्री का पोर्शन उतना टफ नहीं है और आप सभी ने, आशा करता हूं आप सभी ने हिस्ट्री के सारे ही क्वेश्चन सही किए होंगे. आरा घाटा है ना, विच इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज रेहात, ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज पर्शियन व्हील. पर्शियन व्हील है ना, it is like this, a wheel where pods are also there, है ना. Clear? So the correct option will be option B, a large wheel with earthen pods tied to the outer ends of its poke. Option B is the right answer. Now next question, 24th. Who among the following rulers in ancient India had assumed the title Matta Vilasa, Vichitrachit and Gunabhara? Matta Vilasa. And this ruler has also written a book, Matta Vilasa Prahasanam. And this ruler was Mahendra Varman I. Option A, Pallava ruler, Mahendra Varman I. ये सारी चीजें हमने क्लास में डिस्कस हुई. मट्टा विलासा, विचित्रचित, क्यूरियस माइंडेड. Okay, so all these titles are related to the Mahendra Varman I, and Mahendra Varman I is also important with respect to the temple architecture, Dravidian style, temple architecture in Dravidian style. So first stage is called as Mahendra stage, where only mandaps are formed, rock cut cave temples, no structural temple. So during this time period, during the time period of Mahendra Varman I, the temple architecture was just started in the form of rock cut cave temples, and he was defeated by Pulakeshin, who was the Chalukya ruler, and then Pulakeshin was killed by Narasimha Varman, who was the son of Mahendra Varman, so he took the revenge. So option A is the right answer, Mahendra Varman. All these titles are related to the Mahendra Varman. Now next question. अब अगर हम next question की बात करें, now next question, question number 25th, simple straightforward question. Fahian, the Chinese pilgrim, traveled to India during the reign of, simple सा question है और ये सारी चीज हमने डिस्कस की हुई है. सो द करेक्ट आंसर इज चंद्रगुप्ता II. जी हाँ, Fahian, a Chinese Buddhist traveler, Fahian, and he also wrote his experience during the time period of Chandragupta II in his book called as Fuyuki. Okay, Fukoki. In his book Fukoki. Clear? And in this book Fukoki, which is written by Fahian, in this book he has mentioned about the condition of Chandals, untouchability of the time period of Guptas. And it is said that under the influence of Fahian, Kumar Gupta I established the Nalanda University. But Fahian came during the time period of Chandragupta II. Now, तो आप सभी ने ये सारे क्वेश्चंस, मुझे पता है कि आज सभी स्टूडेंट्स ने क्वेश्चन सही किए होंगे. Then question number 26. Who among the following led a successful military campaign against the kingdom of Sri Vijaya, the powerful marine state, which ruled the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra, Java and the neighboring island? तो ये सभी को पता है, जो यूपीएससी की तैयारी नहीं भी कर रहे हैं उन्हें भी पता है. And the answer is Rajendra I Chola. Clear? He led the naval expedition against the Sri Vijaya Empire, which was in Indonesia. Clear? And there are various inscriptions with respect to this. So option C is the right answer. तो इसका जो है option C, this is the right answer. Okay. So next question. Question number 27. With reference to ancient India 600 to 322 BC, consider the following statement. अब देख लीजिए यहाँ पे टाइम पीरियड 600 to 322 BC. This is related to the Mahajanpadas. Time period of Mahajanpadas. So here they have asked different Mahajanpada and river flowing in the region. Asmaka was on Godavari river. This is correct, है ना? Southern Mahajanpada. Then Kamboja, Vipas. अब यहां पर लिखा हुआ है. See, Kamboja was not situated on any single river. Okay. So यहाँ पर Byas river. This is not the correct answer. Then Avanti. Avanti they have given Mahanadi. This is also wrong. Avanti had capitals. Northern capital was Ujjain. Another was Mahishmati. Clear? And that is why if you see Avanti, तो अवंती की आप देखेंगे अगर कैपिटल जो नॉर्थ एंड साउथ थी, तो यहां पे दो रिवर्स थी. एक थी वेत्रावती. One was Vetravati. Clear? So different rivers were there. Then another river was Shipra river. दूसरी river थी Shipra river. Clear? So this statement is wrong. Then Koshla, Saryu river. And today Saryu river is called as Ghaggar. Clear? Ghagra river. इसको Ghagra river भी कहा जाता है. Ghagra river. Today Saryu is also called as Ghagra river. Clear? Now, so first and fourth, that means option B is the right answer. How many of the pairs are correctly matched? So option B. So ये हो सकता है कुछ लोगों ने गलत किया हो, क्योंकि मैंने हर बार बोला हुआ है कि जब भी आप साइट्स पढ़ते हैं हिस्ट्री में, हमेशा उसकी मॉडर्न लोकेशन एज वेल एज ज्योग्राफिकल प्रॉक्सिमिटी हमेशा देख लो. क्लियर? देन क्वेश्चन नंबर 28. The first Gandharv Mahavidyalaya, a music training school, was set up in 1901 by Vishnu Digambar Palushkar in Lahore. It was set up on 5th May 1901. Clear? And this was created to revive the memory and to revive Hindustani classical music. So option D is the right answer, Lahore. Then next question number 29. ये भी सारी चीजें आपके क्लास के नोट से ही हैं. Ashokan inscription suggests that the Pradeshika, Rajuka, Yukta were important officers at the level of district administration. ये याद रखिएगा, district administration. जी हाँ, district level of administration. District level of administration. और इसका सोर्स क्या है? थर्ड मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट, जहां पर अशोका ने 3 न्यू एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पोस्ट बनाई थी. Pradeshika was like district magistrate today, who used to manage the law and order. Rajuka was the revenue officer and Yukta was subordinate clerk at district level, not provincial level. Clear? Option B is the right answer. Now next question. Consider the following statements in respect of the non-cooperation movement. First, the Congress declared the attainment of Swaraj by legitimate and peaceful means to be its objective. This is correct. समझ में आ रहा है? तो गांधी जी ने क्या कहा था? Attainment of Swaraj by all legitimate and peaceful means. Second, it was to be implemented in stages with CDM and non-payment of taxes for the next. If Swaraj did not come within the 1 year, तो गांधी जी का ये पॉलिटिकल स्टंट था. गांधी जी को भी पता था कि स्वराज कैन नॉट कम विद इन 1 year, बट इट वाज अ पॉलिटिकल स्टंट. ही सेड स्वराज, वी आर गोइंग टू अचीव स्वराज विद इन 1 year so that he can create the mass support. समझ में आ रहा है? तो अब एक चीज याद रखिएगा, तो इन्होंने यही कहा था गांधी जी ने, इफ स्वराज डिड नॉट कम विद इन अ ईयर and if the government resorted to repression, so we are going to launch civil disobedience also. So which of these statements given above are correct? So option C, both 1 and 2. Now next question. Then question number 91. Sedition has become my religion was the famous statement by Gandhiji at the time of when Gandhiji violated salt law, that is Dandi March. So option B is the right answer, publicly violating the salt law. As you can see here, the British rule in India has brought moral, material and cultural and spiritual renunciation of this great country. So I regard this rule as the curse and I am out to destroy the system of government, and sedition has become my religion. So ours is a non-violent battle and we are not to kill anybody, but it is our dharma to see that curse of this government is blotted out. So option B is the right answer. Now next, बहुत ही इजी क्वेश्चन है, 90 सेकेंड. The famous female figurine known as dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro is made up of bronze dancing girl, and bronze is an alloy of copper plus tin plus zinc. Then question number 93rd, who provided legal defense to the people arrested in the aftermath of Chauri Chaura incident? Chauri Chaura incident, 5th February 1922, and the correct आंसर इज सीआर दास और एक और थे पर्सनालिटी, जेम्स सेन गुप्ता. So C.R. Das and James Sen Gupta provided legal defense to the people arrested in the aftermath of Chauri Chaura incident. So option A is the correct answer. Then 94, subsequent to which one of the following events Gandhiji, who consistently opposed untouchability and appealed for its eradication from all these spheres, decided to include the upliftment of Harijans in his political and social program? ये सभी को पता है, that is related to the Pune Pact which happened between Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. And then Gandhi ji started his movement for Harijan, and he wanted to include Harijan. He wanted to uplift Harijans in his political and social program. So option A is the right answer. Now, the last question, who among the following was the founder of self-respect movement? ये सारी चीजें हमने क्लास में डिस्कस की हुई हैं. It was Periyar, that is E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Option A is the right answer, as you can see here. Class note, self-respect movement of 1925, which was a Dalit movement started by Periyar. What was the primary program? Primary program was forcible temple entry and burning of Kamban Ramayan. So these are the questions from history, और सारी चीजें हमने क्लास में डिस्कस की हुई है, आपके सभी चीजें क्लास नोट से आई हुई हैं. सो आई होप आपका पेपर काफी अच्छा गया होगा हिस्ट्री पोर्शन का. एंड अभी रेस्पेक्टिव फैकल्टीज दे आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस देयर रेस्पेक्टिव टॉपिक्स. थैंक यू सो मच.
None. Hello students, we are going to discuss today about the UPSC Prelims examination that is concluded today, and we are going to discuss geography subject, the kind of questions which was asked and what should be the correct option and answer for each of these. So the first question is very simple question where it is asking about Earth in general. So the question basically, if you try to look at here, it states that the scientific studies suggest that a shift is taking place in the Earth's rotation and Earth's axis. This is correct statement. Solar flares and associated coronal mass ejection bombarded the Earth's outermost atmosphere with tremendous amount of energy. This is also correct. From the corona, we know that the solar flares are continuously ejected and they reach the outer part of the atmosphere. Third, as the Earth's polar ice melts, the water tends to move toward the equator. That is also, we know that it is correct because of global warming continuously, the polar ice is melting and this melted ice water become part of the ocean and they move toward the equatorial area as such. So basically, statement second and statement third individually are correct statement, but as far as the relation with first statement is concerned, second does not have any relations with the first. That means third statement is the only one that explains the first statement, because as the water volume near the equator increases, scientific observations have concluded that it has led to decrease in the rotation speed of the Earth, and also because of large scale movement of water, there is a kind of wobbling taking place along the Earth's axis of rotation. That means here the correct option should be B. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them, that is the statement number 3, is explaining the statement number 1 as such. Now, apart from this, if you look at the next question, consider the following pairs. One is cassava. Cassava, as you know, is a type of plant. Is it a woody shrub? The answer is absolutely yes. Cassava is considered as a woody shrub. Ginger, we know ginger is also a herb with pseudostem. Pseudostem basically refers to a leaf kind of structure that wraps and coils around the ginger as such. So second is also correct. Third is Malabar spinach. Spinach is a type of climber species. Climber is such kind of plant that takes help and support of other plants to move in the upward direction so that it can get and absorb more sunlight as such. So Malabar spinach is a herbaceous climber, that is correct. Mint, annual shrub. Now that statement is incorrect because mint is an example of perennial shrub. Annual means that once it what you can call as grow, and then next year it basically dies out. That is not true for mint. It grows and on a perennial basis, every year it regenerates and growth can occur. Papaya is a shrub, but it is not woody in nature. So it is not a woody shrub. That means correct answer should be B. That is only 3 statement. Then if you talk about the third, that is the question number 20, with reference to planet Earth, consider the following statement. First is rainforests produce more oxygen than that produced by oceans. Now this statement is basically an incorrect statement because it is the oceans that produces roughly 70% of the Earth's oxygen, and that is why you have incorrect statement. Second, if you try to understand here, that is marine phytoplankton. Phytoplankton, we know that are the microscopic marine organisms, plants, and the photosynthetic bacteria produce about 50% of world's ocean. So as we have discussed, 70% of the ocean is basically produced by the ocean, and within that 50% is absolutely produced by marine phytoplankton and the bacteria as such. So second statement is correct one. Third, well oxygenated surface water contains several folds higher oxygen than in the atmospheric air. This statement is incorrect statement because if you try to understand, in the well oxygenated surface water about 8 this ppm of oxygen you can find, while in the air you will have around 200 ppm of oxygen. So the correct answer here should be 2 only. So for question number 20, the answer should be 2 only, that is B. Then coming to the next question, that we have question number 41. 41 talks about, consider the following countries. You have Austria, Bulgaria, Croatia, Serbia, Sweden, and North Macedonia. How many of them are members of the NATO? NATO is an organization that has continuously been in news because of the Russia-Ukraine war. And since then, we have seen changes also in the membership of NATO, where Sweden has joined NATO as its newest member in just last year, 2024. So Sweden is a new addition. Apart from that, North Macedonia already was part of NATO. Croatia was part of NATO. Bulgaria is. Croatia is. Bulgaria is. Australia is. All of these countries are part of Europe, a part of NATO and part of European Union. Serbia, on the other hand, is neither part of European Union nor part of NATO as such. That means how many are the members of NATO? The correct answer will be except Serbia, all of the above. That means in this particular question, 41, correct option should be C as such. Then coming to the next statement, that is, consider the following countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Venezuela, Andes mountain they are asking about. Now we know that we have discussed in the class as well that Andes mountain, it has developed as a result of the ocean continent convergence along the entire western coast of the South America as such. So even if you do not know that which countries are located on the western coast of South America, Brazil, we know that it is the largest country of South America, and Brazil lies somewhere on the eastern coast and the upper northern part. And to the south of Brazil, you have another country, a small country that is called as Paraguay. That means Andes cannot pass through Brazil, Andes cannot pass through Paraguay, because Andes is along the western coast. And along the western coast, that means Brazil cannot be the answer, Ecuador cannot be answer. So Bolivia, Paraguay cannot be answer. Ecuador is through which Andes is passing through. So Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela. So only 4 we can say. 4 countries out of the given options are through which the Andes mountain range, which is an example of volcanic mountain range, the countries through which it is passing through is this one. Then we have the lake, water bodies. Lake Tanganyika. Lake Tanganyika, we have discussed in the class many times that the Great Rift Valley you have in Africa, West African Rift Valley, East African Rift Valley, that has formed due to the sea divergence. There we have the development of a lake, that is Tanganyika. Then we have Lake Tonle Sap. Lake Tonle Sap is a small lake in Cambodia, that is a kind of riverine lake we can say. Then we have Patos Lagoon, that is in South America. Through how many of them does the equator pass? So actually if you look at the map, okay, if you look at the map of the given areas, you can see that neither Tanganyika nor Tonle Sap nor Patos Lagoon are situated above the equator as such. So in the case of question number 43, the correct option should be D. None of these lakes or water bodies are situated on the equator as such. Question number 44 is about a basic factual question asked from the agriculture we can say, where the question is about turmeric production during the last fiscal year 22 to 23. The statement that India is the largest producer exporter of turmeric in the world. So it is absolutely true. India is not only the largest producer and exporter, but also India is the largest consumer of turmeric in the world. More than 30 varieties of turmeric are grown in India. This is also true if you look at the Agriculture Ministry report, and also if you look at the reports published in the newspapers such as Business Standards is a newspaper in which this particular statement was given. So this also is correct. Maharashtra, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, these are called as spice states because of the favorable climate and favorable soil. These the turmeric and other kind of spices are largely produced in this area. So this statement is also correct as such. That means which of these given statements are correct? The D would be the right choice, right option. All of the 3 given statements are correct here. Then if you look at which of the following are the evidences of the phenomena of continental drift. Now in the geomorphology section of the geography, which is the first chapter we will discuss in the class, continental drift apart from the other 3 theories are considered as the foundational theory of geography as such, and it was given by a well-known geologist by the name of Alfred Wegener. And he has given a lot of evidences in support of continental drift theory, which has later been proven to be correct as well. So the belt of ancient rocks from Brazil coast matches with those from Western Africa. This is absolutely correct because the matching of coastline was done to prove that whether the continental land masses have separated from the same land mass or not. And it seems that the Brazilian, basically the South American coastline and African coastline are perfectly fitting with each other. That means obviously the first statement is correct one. Second, the gold deposit of Ghana derived from Brazil plateau when the 2 continents lay side by side. This is also true because the placer deposits are the form in which gold is found in Ghana, and placer deposits form when the river or the water is moving from a source region and then it deposits it in the what you can call as river bed and the river banks as such. So Ghana do not have any source deposits. Source deposit, that is veins and nodes, veins and lodes of the gold, they are in Brazil. And when South America and Africa were joined together, placer deposits had developed because of the Brazil plateaus. This is also correct. Third, Gondwana system of settlement from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses, southern hemisphere. This is absolutely correct. India was part of ancient Gondwana land, and Gondwana land also consisted of continents such as South America, Africa, Australia, Antarctica, Madagascar. So 6 total different land masses you have association with in the case of India also. That means what should be the correct option in case of 45? D. Basically C. That means 1, 2 and 3. All of these 3 are evidences of what we can call as the continental drift theory. Then if you look at the question number 46, the amount of dust particles in the atmosphere is more in subtropical and temperate areas than in equatorial and polar area. This is absolutely correct statement. Amount of dust particle is lesser in the tropical, basically equatorial and polar areas. And the reason behind this is because in the subtropical and temperate areas, you have large scale movement of dry winds. And because of the dry winds, what happens is because of dry winds, because you have lack of humidity, and because of lack of humidity, the water vapor do not condense, or basically what you can say, do not condense around these nuclei, and they do not come down on the ground surface with the rainfall as such. So because of dry condition, because of lack of rainfall, dust particle remains suspended in the atmosphere. On the other hand, in the equatorial area, whatever dust particle is being generated, majority of them is brought back to the earth's surface during heavy rainfall or due to heavy rainfall, and because of this, the concentration becomes relatively lesser as such. So basically the statement 2 is incorrect here. So statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect as such. So that means the correct option for question number 46 should be C here. Then 47, consider the following statement. In the month of January, in the northern hemisphere, isotherm bend equatorward while crossing the land masses and poleward while crossing the ocean. This is also correct. Isotherm, as we know, is an imaginary line that is drawn on the earth's surface or map of earth, which represent and joins all the points of equal temperature. So basically in the January month, because in northern hemisphere we know that it is a winter season, in the winter season land loses energy at much more faster rate as compared to water. That means the land surface will become colder, water surface will become relatively warm. So if you are moving from land to ocean, that means you are crossing the ocean. In that case, you'll have to find places with relatively lower temperature, and for lower temperature you'll have to move in the poleward areas. Similarly, when you're moving from the ocean to land, you'll have to find the line or the places which are having a relatively higher temperature, because over land you'll have cold temperature. That means you'll have to move toward the equator world. So both these statement given statement 1, both the facts mentioned in statement 1 is correct. Second, in January, the air over the oceans is warmer than that over the land masses in the northern hemisphere as such. Now here, if you try to understand about it, is not about the temperature of air. We are measuring the surface temperature as such. So statement 2 is correct, but what we can say that statement 2 is not directly explaining statement 1 as such. So the correct option here should be B as such, as far as the absolute understanding of both these statements are concerned. So question number 47, correct answer should be B. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain statement 1 as such. Then we have question number 48. In the context of effect of water on the rocks, chalk is known as a very permeable rock, whereas clay is known as quite an impermeable or least permeable rock. Now this statement is absolutely correct. Chalk, basically know that it is nothing but a limestone, and limestone has very high degree of porosity, and that is why it becomes very permeable in nature. Now second statement is chalk is porous and hence can absorb water. That is absolutely correct. That is why in the limestone landforms you have all this kind of dissolved landform like cave-like structure, a stalactite, a stalagmite, uvalas, apolges, all you would have studied about generally formed. Third statement, clay is not at all porous. This is absolutely incorrect. There is a high degree of porosity in the clay as well, but clay is a kind of what you call as aqueduct substance. That means it does not basically allow water to percolate through it, and that is why the correct statement here will be 48. We'll have the C. That is only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct. Statement number 2 in this case is correct, and this explains the statement number 1 as such. So the correct option here will be this C for 48, question number 48. Then next we have is question number 49. Without the atmosphere, temperature would be well below freezing point everywhere on the Earth's surface. This is true because it is the Earth's temperature, atmosphere that regulates the temperature. And if scientists have found out that if atmosphere disappears today, the average temperature of the Earth will plummet down to minus 18 degrees Celsius. That is obviously below the freezing point as such. Second, Heat absorbed and trapped by atmosphere maintains our planet's average temperature. Obviously, this is called as greenhouse effect because the solar insolation that reaches the Earth's surface, they are largely, for them, largely the lower part of atmosphere is acting as a transparent medium, and when Earth gets heated up, it also releases energy in the form of terrestrial radiation. This terrestrial radiation is then absorbed by the gases in the atmosphere, and thus it keeps the planet warm as such. Atmosphere's gases like carbon dioxide are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation. That is absolutely correct. That is why carbon dioxide is also referred as greenhouse gas. Apart from that, water vapor, methane, all these are also greenhouse gases. So the correct statement here is all the three basically. For 49, the correct option should be C. All the three given statements are correct. Then coming to question number 61, again a geography question, that some rare earth metals are used in the manufacture of flat television screens and computer monitor. That is correct. Example can be yttrium. Yttrium is such rare earth element that is used in the computer screens and the computer monitors. Some rare earth elements have phosphorescent properties. That is true. That is why they are able to produce light basically, and that is how you are able to see the television or the screens as such. So basically both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 correctly explains statement 1. That means in 61 the correct option should be A. 65, very simple direct question. It is asked, obviously if we try to link it to the current affairs, in last year basically the government of Delhi wanted to create artificial rain because the pollution level has shot up to a very high degree, and then due to rainfall they thought that the pollutants in the atmosphere can be cleaned and brought back to the Earth's surface. So that is why it was in news. But overall, if you try to understand, the compounds such as silver iodide, potassium iodide, dry ice also to some extent is used to create rainfall, because the water droplets, water vapor actually condenses around these hygroscopic nuclei, as we can call them. So both silver iodide and potassium iodide are hygroscopic nuclei. So correct option for 65 should be A. 72, India is one of the founding members of the International North-South Transport Corridor, a multimodal transportation corridor which will connect. Now, if you look at INSTC, it passes or starts from the Mumbai port. Then after Mumbai port, it goes to the Chabahar port that you have in Iran. Then from Chabahar port, it goes to the Bandar Abbas, then Bandar Anjali, that is on both sides of the Caspian Sea, that is in Iran. And from Iran, then it takes a turn, goes to Central Asia, and one part goes to Azerbaijan, that is Baku. From there it enters into Russia, it goes to Moscow, from Moscow to St. Petersburg. So that is considered as part of Europe, and from St. Petersburg you can further connect downward to the other regions of Europe as well. So the most correct option here should be India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran. However, there is a point here, that means option D also we cannot say that it is absolutely incorrect. B and C is absolutely incorrect because China is not included here, Southeast Asia is not included here. But actually if you look at the map of INSTC, it passes through Azerbaijan also, and finally it is going to Europe. So there is a catch. How UPSC interprets this question, more suitable answer and options should be A, but UPSC, as you know, for its because of its unpredictable nature, it can even choose option D. So make sure that you are keeping this point in mind while looking at this particular question. 96, consider the following countries: UK, Denmark, New Zealand, Australia, Brazil. How many of the countries have more than 4 time zones? Time zones, we know that it comes into picture because if a country is more longitudinally extended, and with every 1 degree change of longitude, time changes by 4 minutes. So if a country has very high, greater degree of longitudinal extent, there will be huge variation in time between the eastern part and western part. For example, you take Russia. The eastern part, that is Vladivostok, western part, that is St. Petersburg, there is a time difference of such a huge, the time difference is so huge that there is more than 10 to 11 time zones as such. So if you look at these countries, UK, Denmark, New Zealand, Australia and Brazil, UK, see, if you look at the actual map of UK, they are very small country, but because they have overseas territory all across the ocean and all across the world, number of time zones significantly increases. So UK has 6 time zones, Denmark obviously has about 5 time zones, then New Zealand, Australia and Brazil, if you try to understand about this, in this case, these countries do not have more than 4 time zones. So New Zealand, Australia, they have around 2-3 time zones. So correct answer here would be UK and Denmark, that means only 2. So D should be correct option as far as question number 96 is concerned. Only UK and Denmark has more than 4 time zones. Consider the following statement: Nadir in Siberia and Nome in Alaska. Basically, if you try to understand this, the question is about, indirectly they're asking about international date line. So we know that if you plot an international date line, it is roughly lying above 180-degree longitude, and then it takes a twist and turn around Central Pacific and further Southern Pacific Ocean. Now Siberia is on this side, right? That is part of Russia. And then you have Alaska, that is on this side. That means what we can say? To the east of ideal, you have Alaska, and to the west of ideal, you have Siberia. And when you cross the dotted line, you have either to add 24 hours or subtract 24 hours. So generally, if you're crossing ideal, let us say from east to west, in that case, you'll have to add 24 hours. And if you're crossing ideal from west to east, you'll have to subtract 24 hours. Now, if you apply this logic, what is saying that Anadir in Siberia, Anadir will be somewhere around here, and Nome in Alaska are few kilometers from each other. There is not big difference in the islands here. But when people are waking up and getting set for breakfast in these cities, it would be different days as such. So that is a correct statement. When it is Monday in Anadir, it is Tuesday in Oman, but that is incorrect statement, because actually in Alaska, if suppose it is Monday, that means in Siberia it would be Tuesday. That means if it is Monday in Anadir as you have discussed in Siberia, if here it is Monday, that means in Alaska, what day it should be? It should be Sunday. So second statement is absolutely incorrect statement and false statement. So the question is related to the concept of ideal. Simply, if you cross ideal from east to west, add 24 hours. If you cross ideal from west to east, you subtract 24 hours. And that is why you would see, this is more clearly seen during the New Year celebration. The first country which celebrates New Year is a small country here that is lying on the west of ideal, called as Kiribati. And then in major countries, Australia, New Zealand, these countries you would see are celebrating New Year first, because it lies very, very close to ideal. And in the context of the late New Year celebration, it will be the Alaska of US, and all these other countries and the cities that you have, they will celebrate New Year. So that is why we can understand this second statement to be absolutely incorrect statement as such. Then next question is 99. Consider the following pairs: Botswana, diamond resource rich in country is given. Botswana we know that is a country lying in Africa. Then you have Chile, lithium, Indonesia, nickel. So in this context, again, it is factual question, but if you look at the resource wise, Chile is having the largest reserves of lithium. Indonesia is the lead producer of nickel, and similarly Botswana, though it is not the largest producer of diamond in the world, it is having one of the richest diamond mines apart from South Africa, Namibia in the Africa as such. So in this context, all the three, let's see, should be right option. All three statements given is correct. Then next is the last question, that is in this particular set B. You have 100 region and country. Again, this is a very favorite kind of question. We can say UPSC keeps asking based on the current affairs, the places those are in news, and the places which are not, which basically the places which are news, and the country and the region where they are located in. Every year you would see at least 1 to 2 or sometimes even 3 such questions have been asked. So basically Mallorca, Italy; Normandy, Spain; Sardinia, France. Now Mallorca is not in Italy, it is in Spain. Normandy, as we know that Normandy is very famous during the World War II because the landing of the Allied troops happened here. So Normandy actually is situated along the coast of France, not of Spain. Sardinia, similarly, if you try to look at this, it is an island, and this island is basically under not the control of France as such. So basically Sardinia, Corsica is island that is lying to the north of Sardinia, and that Corsica is under the control of France as such. Sardinia is under the control of Italy. So that means none. That means D should be the correct option here. Neither Mallorca nor Normandy nor Sardinia is basically lying in each of these given countries as such. Again, Mallorca, Spain; Normandy, France; Sardinia, Italy. So that is all about this particular paper. We have discussed about the questions from the geography and some questions from the map that the UPSC has generally asked this year. So that's all for geography. In a few seconds, you will have other faculty explaining you about the questions that has come from the other subjects as such.
Hello and welcome. We'll continue our discussion with respect to science and technology and environment related questions. There are so many questions from science and technology and environment. Definitely the surprising areas. Let's start the discussion. Okay? So the first question says, consider the following types of vehicles: full battery electric vehicles, or hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, or fuel cell electric hybrid vehicles. Which of them are considered as alternative powertrain vehicles? Now, because they are talking about alternative powertrain vehicles, so any vehicle for that matter which is an alternative to a normal IC engine जहाँ पे petrol जाता है, combustion होता है, diesel जाता है, combustion होता है, any vehicle which is an alternative to this will become an alternative powertrain vehicle. ठीक है? So in that case, full battery electric vehicle, hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle, as well as fuel cell electric hybrid vehicles, all three of them will be correct. All three of them will be powertrain vehicles. Okay? So the first question's answer shall be C, that is all three. Next question is with reference to UAVs. Consider the following statements. All type of UAVs can do vertical landing. There are certain UAVs which do horizontal takeoff and landing. जैसे normal aeroplane होते हैं, वैसे ही they will carry takeoff and landing. ठीक है? So not all type of UAVs can do vertical landing. The first statement is not correct. ठीक है? All type of UAVs can do automated hovering. No, there is not all types of vehicles that can do automated hovering. कुछ ऐसे vehicles हैं that needs to be manually controlled for their hovering aspects. And all types of UAVs, so this is not correct, this is not correct, can use battery only as a source of power supply. This is also not true, obviously, because कुछ ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें हम लोग जैसे jet propelled engines होते हैं, तो UAVs are also jet propelled. जैसे कि one of the engines that we have studied in class is घातक. घातक uses Vikas engine, ठीक है? So there are Kaveri engine, sorry. So घातक uses Kaveri engine. तो कैसे कुछ engines हैं which is not a normal electric powered vehicle, ठीक है? So या battery powered vehicle नहीं है. There are certain UAVs जो jet propulsion, rocket propulsion के system पर ही move करते हैं, ठीक है? So this is also not correct. So none of them are correct. That is option D. Moving on to the next question. In first case, the answer was option C. Moving on to the next question. That is, in the context of electric vehicles, batteries, consider the following elements. ये तीन में से हमें select करना था कि cathode क्या हो सकते हैं, ठीक है? So remember, cathode shall be any metal. कोई भी metal cathode पे हो सकता है. And carbon compounds will be on the anode side. Positive electrode पे we will usually be having a metal. Negative electrode पे carbon and carbon compounds. So graphite जो हो गया, this is a carbon compound, this will be an anode. इसके अलावा बाकी तीनों metal हैं, तो ये तीनों हो जाएंगे cathode, ठीक है? So 1, 3 and 4, only 3. That is option C will be the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Okay. Consider the following statements: cigarette butt, eyeglass lenses and car tires. Which of them contains plastics? Obviously the answer shall be all three of them. Now remember this question, we have discussed this कि whenever we talk about कि इसमें plastic है या नहीं, these are very generalistic kind of question. If we talk about microplastics, let's say microplastic is obviously a pollutant, but microplastic तो कहीं भी है, right? We know mother's milk, Antarctic's fresh ice. There are so many places where we have found microplastic in optic fiber of human eye. इतना जगह penetration है microplastics का. So plastics यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं हो सकते हैं? Cigarette butts में भी filtration के लिए we make use of जो outer layer होता है उसमें plastic होता है. Eyeglass lenses में तो fiber होते ही हैं. Car tires में भी sulfur is mixed with plastics. So all three of them shall be correct. That is option C. ठीक है? Moving on to the next question. Which of the following substances coal gasification technology can be used in production of how many of them? Now this question, as we discussed in class, coal gasification क्योंकि झारखंड में पहली बार हुआ था, coal gasification was carried out in Jharkhand, so that was very important. We have discussed it so many times कि syngas is one of the primary product of coal gasification. Syngas जो है, CO plus H2. This is one of the primary products of coal gasification. Now because this hydrogen can be used to produce urea या nitroglycerin, और ethanol तो खुद ही coal gasification, UGC का खुद ही product है. Underground coal gasification का output is ethanol and methanol. So all three of them using a technology. Now the question could have been, ये इसका interpretation में एक mistake ये हो सकता था कि coal gasification से output क्या आता है, ठीक है? So the direct output would be largely syngas and methanol largely, ठीक है? लेकिन because they are talking about this technology can be used in production of what? Of which of them? So they are not talking about the output of the coal gasification. They are also talking about कि इस output से क्या produce किया जा सकता है, ठीक है? Underground coal gasification technology can be used in the production of which of them? So all three of them will be correct. ठीक है? All three shall be the correct answer. Now next was I understand it is technical, factual, or relatively difficult to remember. But these are the chemicals which are used as an explosive in military weapons. So option B, that is Cl20, HMX and LLM-105 is used as an explosive in military explosives में इसे use किया जाता है, ठीक है? So that is the correct answer. That is option B. Moving on to the next one, Majorana 1 chip. Majorana 1 chip is used for quantum computing, but इसे Amazon Web Services नहीं develop की है, इसे develop किया है Microsoft ने. So the second statement is not correct. And this we have discussed in class also. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning. I have shown you this diagram. ठीक है कि deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning कहने का मतलब कि machine is learning. Deep learning कहने का मतलब then we are talking about into the deeper aspects. Which part of machine learning are we talking about? Language interpretation, image interpretation, audio interpretation. ये सारी चीजें जो हो जाएंगी वो deep learning की हो जाएंगी. Machine learning is overall, the machine is learning. So the third statement is correct and the first is also correct. So 1 and 3, that is option C हो जाएगा correct answer, ठीक है? Moving on to the next question, monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies we have discussed it in class again कि monoclonal antibodies क्या होते हैं कि there are certain problems, कुछ ऐसे diseases, कुछ ऐसे issues होते हैं जिसके लिए हमें immediate solution चाहिए. जैसे किसी को सांप काट लिया, किसी somebody has experienced a snake bite, तो उसमें we cannot wait for your body to produce antibody और आपका antibody जाकर के उस antigen में attach होकर के आपकी body को बचाएगा. We cannot wait for that. So what do? Artificially created monoclonal antibodies को हम आपकी body में directly ingest कर देते हैं. So is the case with tetanus. कि tetanus के जो antibodies होते हैं, जो उस bacteria के जो antibodies होते हैं, उसे एंटीजेन की जो एंटीबॉडीज होते हैं उसे लैब मेड एंटीबॉडीज को आपकी बॉडी में डायरेक्टली इंजेक्ट कर दिया जाता है बिकॉज इन सच सर्कमस्टांसेस वी कैन नॉट वेट फॉर योर बॉडी टू प्रोड्यूस एंटीबॉडीज एंड देन प्रोटेक्ट योर बॉडी. तो इन दैट केस दीज आर मैन मेड प्रोटीन्स. दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, ठीक है? They are stimulant immunological function due to their ability to bind to specific antigen. They stimulate immunological functions. तो आपकी इम्यून सिस्टम को बढ़ावा देता है. हाउ? कि ये एंटीजन में जाके अटैच कर जाएगा, ठीक है? एंड दे आर यूज्ड इन ट्रीटिंग वायरल इन्फेक्शंस लाइक दैट ऑफ द नीपा वायरस. वेरी रिसेंटली नीपा से रिलेटेड मोनोक्लोनल एंटीबॉडीज बनाए गए थे. दिस वाज देयर इन पेपर एंड दैट इज व्हाई इन क्वेश्चन पेपर एज वेल. ये न्यूज़पेपर का ही पार्ट है, ठीक है? द थर्ड स्टेटमेंट. सो हियर ऑल थ्री आर करेक्ट, ठीक है? मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Okay, no virus can survive again. Remember this we have done enough exercise in class की all, completely, exclusively, no, इस तरीके के statements usually incorrect होते हैं. No viruses can survive in ocean waters, ये बात this is not true. Usually these statements are not true. We know by this fact कि virus needs an organism to stay alive. लेकिन virus के लिए water bodies and especially marine water acts as a vector, ठीक है? तो वो एक ऑर्गेनिज्म से दूसरे ऑर्गेनिज्म थ्रू मरीन वाटर और ओशन वाटर ट्रांसफर कर सकता है, ठीक है? सेकेंडली, नो वायरस कैन इन्फेक्ट अ बैक्टीरिया. दिस इज ऑब्वियसली नॉट करेक्ट. रिमेंबर दिस ऑल्सो वी हैव डन इन क्लास साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी क्लासेस कि कुछ ऐसे बैक्टीरियाज थे जिन्हें वायरस अफेक्ट करते थे. देन वी हैड सर्टेन बैक्टीरियाज व्हिच अफेक्ट द वायरसेस, दैट इज द बैक्टीरियोफेज. तो देन वी स्टार्टेड अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि बैक्टीरियोफेज का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है और वायरसेस का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है. सो ऑब्वियसली देयर आर सर्टेन वायरसेस दैट अफेक्ट द बैक्टीरिया एज वेल, ठीक है? No virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity in host cell. नहीं, this is also not correct. Viruses often change. ये statement तो by fact ही incorrect है. जो भी मेजर वायरसेस हम लोग जानते हैं, चाहे वो एड्स का वायरस हो, HIV का वायरस हो, या बहुत सारे ऐसे वायरसेस होते हैं, they undergo transcription and reverse transcription. So they will be undergoing cellular transcription activity inside the host cell. So all three statements are not correct. Which of the following statements are correct? तो ये आंसर हो जाएगा none of them. That is 9D. ठीक है. Moving on to the next question, activated carbon. Activated carbon का से related question था. Now activated carbon is considered as one of the substances to remove the pollutants. ठीक है. बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग होता है ये, और इसका पोरस स्ट्रक्चर बहुत है, सरफेस एरिया बहुत ज्यादा होता है, और स्ट्रक्चर इज वेरी वेरी पोरस. तो बिकॉज ऑफ देयर पोरस स्ट्रक्चर दे आर एबल टू अब्सॉर्ब मोर एंड मोर पोल्यूटेंट्स. Activated carbon is good and attractive tool to remove pollutants from effluent streams and to remediate contaminants from various industries. ठीक है, तो this is used to remove the pollutants. Second statement says that they exhibit a large surface area and strong potential for absorbing heavy metals. This is also correct. ठीक है. Activated carbon can be easily synthesized from environmental waste with high carbon content. This statement is also correct. इसे हम लोग ये कोपरा जो होता है नारियल का बाहर वाला लेयर, उससे भी हम लोग एक्टिवेटेड कार्बन प्रोड्यूस करते सकते हैं, या फॉर दैट मैटर एनीथिंग व्हिच कंटेन्स गुड अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन से हम लोग वी कैन प्रोड्यूस एक्टिवेटेड कार्बन. तो इन दैट केस ऑल थ्री स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट. अब आते हैं ऑप्शंस में कि व्हाट इज द ऑप्शन से जहां भी इनकरेक्ट होगा उसे तो डेफिनेटली एलिमिनेट कर सकते हैं. दिस तो डी को एलिमिनेट किया जा सकता है और सी को भी एलिमिनेट किया जा सकता है. ठीक है. नाउ बोथ ऑप्शन ए एंड बी सेज कि 2 and 3 आर करेक्ट. वी अंडरस्टूड 2 and 3 दोनों स्टेटमेंट्स करेक्ट हैं, एंड ओनली वन ऑफ देम या बोथ ऑफ देम एक्सप्लेन स्टेटमेंट 1. तो जब भी ये कॉज एंड इफेक्ट का रिलेशनशिप हो जाता है ना, देन रिमेंबर वी हैव डन दिस डिस्कशन इन क्लास कि यू पहली स्टेटमेंट के बाद यू ऐड बिकॉज एंड देन पुट अप द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट. So whether they explain statement 1 or not, that can be done by adding because. So let's try doing this. Activated carbon can be easily synthesized from environmental waste. They explain statement 1. Because activated carbon is good and attractive tool. Okay, good and attractive tool to remove pollutants from effluent streams to remediate contaminants from various industries. Because this can be easily synthesized. हाँ, ये correct है. Why are we saying this? क्योंकि ये एक attractive tool है. When we say attractive tool, तो इसका मतलब this must be cheaply manufactured. Secondly, it exhibits a large surface area and strong potential for absorbing heavy metals. इसलिए ये बहुत बढ़िया pollutant होता है. Pollutant removal के लिए use किया जाता है. ठीक है? So both the statements are giving an explanation. Both the statements are giving an explanation to statement 1. तो हमारा correct answer हो जाएगा A. That is 10 का answer is A. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Studies indicate carbon dioxide from cement industry account for more than 5% of global carbon emissions. We know this. We have done this exercise again in class. TPP highest, cement industry is the second highest. क्यों? क्योंकि क्लिंकर जो होता है, क्लिंकर के प्रोडक्शन में सबसे ज्यादा CO2 का एमिशन होता है. क्लिंकर क्या हुआ? कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट को ब्रेक डाउन किया जाता है इन कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. तो जब ये प्रोड्यूस करते हैं तो एवरी यूनिट ऑफ सीमेंट दैट वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग, ये कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड में वी ऐड इम्प्योरिटीज टू जनरेट सीमेंट. एवरी यूनिट ऑफ सीमेंट जो आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो उसमें इक्विवेलेंट अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड प्रोड्यूस होगा. तो ओवरऑल सीमेंट इंडस्ट्री इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट एमिटर्स ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. तो पहला स्टेटमेंट तो करेक्ट है. सिलिका बेयरिंग क्ले इज मिक्स्ड विद लाइमस्टोन व्हाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सीमेंट. यही है वो इम्प्योरिटीज है. सिलिका बेयरिंग क्ले ये जो होता है ना, इसे ऐड किया जाता है तो सीमेंट के साथ, इससे कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड के साथ टू प्रिपेयर सीमेंट. सो द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज आल्सो करेक्ट. लाइमस्टोन इज कन्वर्टेड इनटू लाइम ड्यूरिंग क्लिंकर प्रोडक्शन फॉर सीमेंट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. करेक्ट. सो लाइमस्टोन जो है ये लाइम में कन्वर्ट किया जाता है एंड दिस इज द टाइम व्हेन ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एमिशंस आर टेकिंग प्लेस. ठीक है. So when they say कि whether this is an correct or incorrect explanation for all them, so then we can go by this. Both statement are correct and both of them explain statement 1. ठीक है. नहीं, इस statement की हमें जरूरत नहीं है to explain why are they very high emitters. So only one of these two statements are explaining कि why cement industry is the highest emitter. तो हमारा correct answer क्या हो जाएगा? Both the statements are correct, but only one of them is explaining why the first statement is correct. ठीक है. ओनली वन ऑफ देम इज एक्सप्लेनिंग कि क्यों ये इतना बड़ा कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का प्रोड्यूसर है, क्योंकि जिस समय हम लोग क्लिंकर का प्रोडक्शन करते हैं, कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट ब्रेकिंग डाउन इनटू लाइमस्टोन ब्रेकिंग डाउन इनटू लाइम, इस समय इस प्रोसेस को बोला जाता है क्लिंकरिंग, और इस प्रोसेस में सबसे ज्यादा CO2 का एमिशन होता है. सो ओनली द थर्ड स्टेटमेंट इज गिवन एन एक्सप्लेनेशन टू द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट. ठीक है, ओके. सो option B shall be the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Okay, statement 1 at the 28th COP में declaration on climate and health, remember that discussion कि climate और health को decouple करने की जरूरत है. climate change का impact health पे नहीं होना चाहिए और health का impact climate change पर नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है, so that was the declaration. A similar declaration was done for agriculture also, and India did not sign any of them. India had not signed any of them. ठीक है, so India refrained from signing this. This is correct. So this declaration is a binding declaration, and if signed, it becomes mandatory to decarbonize the health sector. As we discussed, अगर decoupling करना होगा तो decarbonization करना ही पड़ेगा. ठीक है, so we will have to mandatorily decarbonize the health sector. Statement 3 says, तो ये statement भी correct है. If India's health sector is decarbonized, the resilience of its health sector, healthcare system may be compromised. This is also correct. मान लेते हैं हम लोग telemedicine की बात कर रहे हैं, तो telemedicine में will absorb huge amount, emit huge amount of carbon dioxide. तो जब when you are asking us to become decarbonizing our health sector, तो then we cannot assure कि हम लोग telemedicine से हर एक sector of the country, हर एक area of the country में health services पहुंचा पाएंगे. ठीक है, so this is going to break down the resilience of the health sector. This is just one example. ऐसे बहुत सारे examples हो सकते हैं. ठीक है, so the third statement is also correct. Now the question again says कि whether अगर दोनों statement correct है तो ये दोनों तो answer नहीं है. इन दोनों को explain कर रहा है first statement कि why did India not sign? India did not sign because कि this will challenge its resilience. ठीक है, कि ये एक binding declaration है, इसलिए भी India sign नहीं किया. India did not sign because this was a binding declaration, and India did not sign because it will risk the resilience of the health sector. तो in that case दोनों statement चाहिए हमें first statement को explain करने के लिए. India ने क्यों नहीं sign किया? एक, अगर हम sign कर देते तो this would have been binding for me. Secondly कि ये मेरे health sector का resilience दिखाता है. ठीक है, so then we need both the statements, but both of them explain statement 1. तो हमारा correct answer हो जाएगा 12 के लिए A. ठीक है, moving on to the next question. This has been covered in geography. Moving on to the next question of environment, that is 14, question number 14, जिसमें बोल रहा है Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Remember we have done the discussion, very detailed discussion of 6.2 and 6.4 both. ठीक है, तो Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on the climate change is frequently discussed in global discussions on sustainable development and climate change. Correct. This sets out the principles of carbon market. Obviously Article 6.2 भी 6.4 भी carbon market की ही बात कर रहा है. 6.2 जो है वो ज्यादा सेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम है, इंटर कंट्री के बीच की बात है. 6.4 जो है वो ज्यादा डिसेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम है. सो इसमें पार्टीज भी पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, इंस्टीट्यूशंस कैन आल्सो पार्टिसिपेट इन 6.4. ठीक है, Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on Climate Change intends to promote inter-country non-market strategies to reach the climate targets. So this is not correct. ये non-market strategies कैसे हो सकता है? When we are talking about a carbon market, so this cannot be a non-market strategy, right? So the statement 3 itself is not correct. ठीक है, तो हमारा आंसर क्या हो जाएगा? Only one of the statements is correct and that explains statement 1. ठीक है, तो हमारा आंसर हो जाएगा C, 14 का C. Moving on to the next question, that is question number of the environment, that is question number 16. That is direct air capture. Direct air capture क्या है? एक sequestration technique है. This is used for carbon sequestration. So can be used as a way of carbon sequestration is correct. Valuable approach for plastic production and in food processing. See, remember कि ये कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को अगर हम लोग सीक्वेस्टर कर रहे हैं तो उससे we will not be producing plastic. हमारा इंटेंशन क्या था? CO2 सीक्वेस्ट्रेशन करना. प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्शन के लिए we don't use this. ठीक है, फूड प्रोसेसिंग के लिए तो फिर भी कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड को पैकेजिंग इंडस्ट्री में यूज किया जा सकता है, बट प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्शन के लिए we will not be using this कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड which we have captured. इंटेंशन क्या है इनका intention is carbon sequestration. Carbon dioxide in atmosphere is problematic, so let us capture it and put it back into the geologic sink or oceanic sink. ठीक है, इसको we will not be using to produce the plastic. So second statement here is not correct. If you eliminate the second statement, so in aviation it can be used as a source of for carbon combining with hydrogen to create synthetic low carbon 1 and 3. Okay. Now, in that case, the second statement is correct. Plastic production in food processing. Question number 16. The correct answer is C. That is 1, 2 and 3. This has been mentioned in the website कि plastic production में किया जा सकता है. Now, this is confusing क्योंकि कुछ part of the document, government's document says कि although plastic can be produced, we will not be producing plastic. But obviously we have WEF का reports which are stating कि direct air capture से you can get plastic which can be you can get carbon dioxide which can be used to process the plastic, manufacturing of plastic. ठीक है, so all three of them will be correct for question 16. Okay, moving on to the next one, peacock tarantula. Peacock tarantula आंध्र प्रदेश में मिलता है. ठीक है, we do get this. Poisonous species है, but these are not omnivorous crustaceans. ठीक है, तो पहला स्टेटमेंट इनकरेक्ट हो जाएगा. These are not omnivorous crustaceans. Okay, and a natural habitat is India is only limited to some forested areas. सिर्फ आंध्र प्रदेश के forested area में ये रहते हैं. And naturally they are arboreal species. Arboreal species वो होते हैं जो shade में रहते हैं, leaf के shade में, tree के shade में, grasses के shade में. These are arboreal species. ठीक है, but obviously crustacean नहीं है और omnivorous तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. ठीक है, so these are तो हमारा correct answer हो जाएगा 2 and 3. That is option D. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 18. Carbon dioxide in emissions in India are less than 0.5 ton carbon dioxide per capita. This is not true. ठीक है, हमारे यहाँ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का जो emissions है, this is 1.89 tons per capita के आसपास आता है. ठीक है, although very low in terms of per capita emissions, but this is not as low as 0.5. Less than 0.5 tons नहीं है. ठीक है, so the second statement is not correct. In terms of the CO2 emissions from fuel combustion, India ranks second in the Asia Pacific region. That is correct after China. ठीक है, second in Asia Pacific they are talking about. Asia Pacific में world over US followed by China followed by India. In Asia Pacific में China followed by India. So second largest. Electricity and heat producers are the largest sources of carbon dioxide emissions in India. TPP in electricity or heat production कहाँ wherever we are making use of coal in let's say smelting process में, metal smelting में production में use कर रहे हैं या cement production में emissions जो हो रहे हैं. So when we talk about carbon dioxide emissions, तो coal जब आप burn कर रहे हो in smelting या carbon dioxide जो emit हो रहा है in cement, तो these are some of the largest sources of carbon dioxide emissions in India. ठीक है, so 2 and 3 shall be correct. That is option C. Moving on to the next question, then we have 54. With respect to environment, okay, GPS, this is with respect to science and technology. GPS aided geo augmentation navigation, गगन या फिर जो हमारा नाविक प्रोजेक्ट है, ठीक है, इनका क्या इंटेंशन है कि ये एक सिस्टम ऑफ सैटेलाइट्स हैं, सैटेलाइट्स रहेंगे टू प्रोवाइड नेसेसरी ऑगमेंटेशन. बिकॉज द इंटेंशन इज नेसेसरी ऑगमेंटेशन, तो इसलिए ये एडिशनल एक्यूरेसी और इंटीग्रिटी देते हैं. ठीक है, कि आप जो जीपीएस डेटा उनके पास रहेगा उसे ज्यादा रिफाइन करके वो डेटा यूज कर सकते हो आप. इट विल अलाउ मोर यूनिफॉर्म एंड हाई क्वालिटी एयर ट्रैफिक मैनेजमेंट. तो एयर ट्रैफिक में भी दिस विल ज्यादा क्लैरिटी आएगा, ज्यादा यूनिफॉर्मिटी आएगा. एंड थर्डली इट विल प्रोवाइड बेनिफिट्स ओनली इन एविएशन बट नॉट इन अदर मोड्स ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इज नॉट करेक्ट. तो ये हर किसी मोड ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट को हेल्प करेगा, इसलिए ओनली एविएशन इज नॉट करेक्ट. 1 and 2 shall be the correct answer. That is option D. Moving on to the next question. AI Action Summit. AI Action Summit जो अभी पेरिस में हुआ, this was the third meeting. इसे पहले कहाँ हो चुका है? ये सियोल में हो चुका है और बेच्सले पार्क में हो चुका है. So this was the third meeting. India had attended. Remember, we have done this discussion again in class. AI Action Summit में India had participated and India tried to prioritize कि मेरे issues are not the issues that is leading to AI biasness for the Indians. So we need to diversify the inputs. ठीक है? So we had attended और US and UK did not. US and UK did not sign the declaration on inclusive and sustainable AI. They have problem with this term itself. Sustainable AI करके कोई concept ही नहीं होता है, and US and UK are saying, so because if you are trying to divert this topic into sustainability in AI, that is not what can be approved. France has agreed for sustainable AI, India has agreed for this, but not US and UK. ठीक है? So second statement is not correct. First statement is correct. ठीक है? Okay, moving on to the next question, that is 55. 61 is the next question. Okay, some rare earth elements are used in manufacture of flat television screens and computer monitors. बिल्कुल correct है, ठीक है? Some rare earth elements have phosphorescent properties. Phosphorescent properties क्या होता है कि ग्लो करते हैं, जब उसमें लाइट पड़ता है ना तो they will be glowing. तो वो जब ग्लो करेंगे तो उसको फ्लैट टीवी में वो सारे सेट लाइंस ग्लो करेंगे and we will be able to depict that image. So this is correct, and because of the phosphorescent properties itself वो फ्लैट टीवी में यूज किया जाता है. So they both are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1 as well. ठीक है? Moving on to the next question, that is 63. Axiom, SpaceX and Gaganyaan. इसमें से कौन से मिशन हैं who encourage and support microgravity research? Microgravity research कहने का मतलब वैसे जगह जहाँ पे कि ग्रेविटी बहुत कम हो जाती है. दिस इज माइक्रोज. ये बेसिकली आप वो जगह सोच सकते हो वेयर योर ग्रेविटी इज एक्चुअली नॉट एक्टिंग ऑन योर बॉडी. ठीक है? तो जब भी हम लोग whenever we are talking about space based research wherein we do not want them to face the gravity, तो इनमें से कौन से मिशंस आएंगे? So Axiom 4, SpaceX and Gaganyaan, all three of them are encouraging and supporting microgravity research. So all three of them shall be correct answer. That is option C. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Okay, India's defense sector. Consider the following pairs. Dornier किसके लिए यूज किया जाता है? Dornier is patrol aircraft, correct? Dornier is used as patrol aircraft. ठीक है? 64. Okay, and IL-76 is not a combat aircraft. That is the problem. ठीक है? IL-76 भी ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए यूज किया जाता है. ग्लोब मास्टर, C-17 ग्लोब मास्टर भी ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट ही है. IL-76 इज ऑल्सो अ ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट. सामान ले सकते हैं आप, इंसानों को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह शिफ्ट कर सकते हैं. So first and third pair are correct. Dornier is used in maritime patrol and C-17 is used in transport, but not IL-76 in combat aircraft. ठीक है? So answer हो जाएगा 1 and 3. That is only 2 pairs. ठीक है? Next is artificial way of causing rainfall के लिए n number of times we have discussed in class, silver iodide and potassium iodide. Silver iodide तो बहुत commonly use होता है, but apart from this potassium iodide is also used to reduce air pollution. जैसे ये क्या करेंगे, हाइड्रोस्कोपिक न्यूक्लियाई की तरह एक्ट करेंगे, कंडेंसेशन इनके आसपास होगा and the precipitation will take place. ठीक है? That was question number 65. Now moving on to the next question, that is question number 70. Question number 70 is nature restoration law. Again was in news. UK की law है, but has to be adopted by entire European Union. Entire European Union क्या करेगी कि ये लोग प्रायोरिटाइज करेंगे नेचर रिस्टोरेशन को, अपने लॉ अपने पॉलिसीज में प्रायोरिटाइज करेंगे. This has been passed by entire European Union. Entire continent will try to enact a law and a policy for prioritizing climate change and biodiversity. ठीक है? So the answer shall be A. 70 का A. ठीक है? Moving on to the next question, that is question number 72. 72 is INSTC. INSTC इससे ये was into news. Central Asia, India को Central Asia और यूरोप via ईरान कनेक्ट करता है. ठीक है? You remember some of the first few countries who were participating in INSTC was India, Iran and Russia. ठीक है? इसमें Central Asia भी participate किया है and final destination shall also be Europe. Europe will also be one of the centers जो कि petroleum and natural gas fossil fuel के benefits को receive करेंगे through the international north south transport corridor. ठीक है? So question number 72 का आंसर हो जाएगा A. 73. Okay, 73 also we have discussed biofuel policy. Biofuel policy में पूछ रहे हैं कि remember global biofuel alliance, India was trying to learn lessons from Brazil and US. Brazil being E85 nation, US being E55 nation. यूएस की जो सबसे ज्यादा डिपेंडेंसी है फॉर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ इथेनॉल इज कॉर्न कर्नल्स, ठीक है, लेकिन ब्राजील की जो सबसे ज्यादा डिपेंडेंसी है दैट इज शुगर केन. क्यों वी नो दिस, ये जोन ही चीनी के प्रोडक्शन का है. क्यूबा, ब्राजील, ये सब शुगर बाउल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड थे एक टाइम पे. सो ऑब्वियसली इनका डिपेंडेंसी चीनी पे बहुत ज्यादा होगा, शुगर पे बहुत ज्यादा होगा फॉर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ इथेनॉल. Statement 1 says of the two major ethanol producers in the world, Brazil and US, former produces more ethanol than the latter. ठीक है, Brazil produces more ethanol than the USA. ठीक है, unlike the USA where corn is the principal feedstock for ethanol, sugarcane is the principal feedstock for ethanol in Brazil. तो ये दोनों ही statement हमारे correct है. That is option C shall be the correct answer. 73. Okay, moving on to the next question. Moving on to the next question, that is 74. World Bank want that India would become, अच्छा, wet bulb temperatures क्या होते हैं कि wet bulb conditions ऐसे होंगे कि क्योंकि हवा में इतना humidity है, because there is abundant humidity in air, so now even if there is even if the temperature rises, तो हमारी sweat gland की capacity क्या है कि जैसे ही temperature rise करने लगेगा the sweats will be released by the body, और sweat का evaporation से हमारी body की cool down हो जाएगी. बट वो evaporation के लिए sufficient heat नहीं है, plus because the atmosphere already has huge amount of humidity, तो ये उस evaporation को promote भी नहीं करता है. In that case, the survival of animals including humans will become difficult, will be affected as shedding of their body heat through perspiration becomes difficult. As we discussed, sweating will become very difficult, या sweat का evaporation will become very difficult. So the second statement is definitely correct. Peninsular India will more likely suffer from flooding, tropical cyclones and droughts. This is also correct. Northern part of the peninsula is going to suffer from droughts and southern part is going to suffer from flooding and tropical cyclones. ठीक है? So both the statements here are correct. Correct answer हो जाएगा हमारा option C. ठीक है? That is both 1 and 2. That was question number 74. We'll continue our discussion with respect to IR Polity Economics. Thank you so much and all the very best. Okay.
Hello folks, we will be now discussing polity questions from your prelims paper. Okay, so look at this. The first question. See, first let's discuss how the questions were from polity. First, it was more of direct questions only, but you have to look for certain keywords. These were almost like basic keywords that we would teach you in analyzing how you have to eliminate the options. What I mean further you will come to know while we discuss the paper. As of now, the first question is, look at this. Consider the following statements. Panchayats at the intermediate level exists in all states. To be eligible to be a member of Panchayat at the intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. The Chief Minister of a state constitutes a commission to review the financial position of Panchayats at the intermediate level and to make recommendations regarding the distribution of net proceeds of taxes, duties leviable by the state between the state, Panchayat and the intermediate level. Okay, let's take the first point. Panchayats at the intermediate level exists in all states. Usually, we would tell you if anything is a bold claim statements or it is all explicitly everything, you have to, at least that has to pin a red flag to you. Here the word is in all states. Okay. Panchayats at intermediary level does not exist in all states. It only exists in states where population is above 20 lakhs. Okay. So which means the first option is wrong. Let's take the age-old way how we used to eliminate. Wherever one is there, all those will become wrong. It should be 2 and 3. But still, let's just go ahead. And to be eligible to be a member of Panchayat at the intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. See, for your Panchayat at all levels, it is 21 years. Only for your Rajya Sabha, it is 30 years. So this option is also wrong. Here is where you have to observe this question pe they are not asking which is correct, but they are asking which is not correct. Understanding? Third thing, the Chief Minister of a state constitutes a commission to review financial position of panchayats at the intermediate level and to make recommendations regarding distribution of net proceeds of taxes, duties, etc. See, first of all, not just at intermediate level but at all levels of panchayat, the first thing is it is not a chief minister, it is governor of a state and not chief minister. So third point is also wrong. They have asked which of the above options are not correct, which is all three. So the correct answer is D, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next question. Look at this. Consider the following statements about Lokpal. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India but not to the Indian public servants posted outside India. See, for this, no, in the question only you can try to answer. Look at this. The power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India. Okay. Public servants of India, but not to the Indian public servants. Look at the word here. They are whether posted within country or outside country. Both way they are public servants of India only. No, just because they are working, let's say, consider in Denmark, will you consider that as a public servant of Denmark? No, it is still a public servant of India only. So whether they are posted within the country or outside the country, they are still applicable. The Lokpal is applicable to them. So, this statement, the power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India and not Indian public servants posted outside of India is wrong. Okay. Next, the chairperson or a member shall not be a member of the parliament or a member of legislature or of any state or union territory, and only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. See, this statement is partially right, partially wrong. What do I mean by that? The chairperson or a member shall not be an MP or MLA. Up until here it is correct. Now look at this. Again, we would have taught you for these words, all, only. You have to little bit somewhere become aware of this. Only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired. Why it should be only Chief Justice of India? It could be any judge of Supreme Court, retired, or it could also be any eminent person with expertise in understanding, expertise in anti-corruption, law, management. So a eminent person is also applicable. So the statement that only the Chief Justice of India should be the chairperson is also wrong. Understanding? Now, the chairperson or a member shall not be a person of less than 45 years of age on the date of assuming office as the chairperson or member, as the case may be. Look at this. Simple stance pay. If I have to tell, they have to tell this person who will become should not be less than 45 years of age. That is correct. So, 1 is wrong, 2 is wrong, 3 is correct. Okay. Let's look at the fourth one. Lokpal cannot inquire into the allegations of corruption against a sitting Prime Minister of India. One of the major things about Lokpal was that it also included in its ambit the Prime Minister. Understanding? Now, when you're telling Lokpal, layman terms pe, let's assume, if I'm going to tell Lokpal or Lokayukta, it is something to do with corruption only. And if you're not going to include, let's say you know how Prime Minister is involved. If it is not for corruption, then for what he will be put into? In this Lokpal and Lokayukta Act, it is mentioned that yes, you can investigate cases on the present sitting Prime Minister if it is with respect to corruption and any activity which is done on personal act. Okay? But you cannot investigate in cases such as your atomic energy, defense, understanding? So, this is wrong. Lokpal cannot inquire? No, Lokpal can inquire into the allegations of corruptions against the sitting Prime Minister of India. So, this is also wrong. So, the correct answer is A, 3 only. Okay? And look at this. Consider the following statements with regard to pardoning power of President of India. Pardoning power of the President of India. This is where you might get little bit confused. The exercise of this power by the President can be subjected to limited judicial review. This portion. See, first of all, Supreme Court has held that in many times in cases wherein President's pardoning power is subject to judicial review. But in what cases? Okay, see this statement you will know. Is President's pardoning power subject to judicial review? Yes, you know that much. The question comes here, is it subject to complete judicial review or limited judicial review? That is where you have to understand the second statement that we will be discussing. Pardoning power of President is subject to judicial review in case of if any discrepancy is involved, if it is arbitrary, understanding, if it is malicious. So, if they are telling, okay, 4 points I'm putting, if it is on any of these cases, then it is subject to judicial review. Meaning what? Automatically it doesn't subject to it, which means it is subject to limited judicial review. With this, you have to understand this. It is subject to limited judicial review. The statement is correct. The President can exercise this power without the advice of central government. Look at this. Anything with respect to President and without the aid of COM, that is not according to your Article 74. Your President is bound by, this is the word that we will be using. When we use bound, this without cannot come in. Your President is bound by the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. So, which makes this statement wrong. So, the correct answer is A1 only. Understanding? The exercise of pardoning power of the President is subject to limited judicial review and he cannot exercise this power without the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. Okay? I used cannot exercise. Here they used can exercise. Clear? Look at this question. Consider the following statements. On the dissolution of the House of People, let's put it Lok Sabha, the speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before first meeting of the House of People after the dissolution. This statement is correct. Just because the Lok Sabha is dissolved doesn't mean the speaker has to immediately leave. Okay, this is correct statement. Okay, look at this. According to the provisions of the Constitution of India, member of the House of People on being elected as speaker shall resign from his or her political party immediately. Now here the keywords you have to look about is according to the provisions of Constitution of India. It means in a way telling that how Constitution of India has mandated that any person being elected to your speaker has to resign. Constitution has not mandated this. Understanding? But usually, and the word I will use here is out of convention, they will disassociate themselves from active politics. But according to the Constitution, it is not mandated that the speaker has to resign from his or her political party. So according to the provisions of a member shall resign is wrong. Understanding? Look at the third. The Speaker of the House of the People may be removed from his or her office by a resolution of the House of People passed by a majority of all the then members. This is the key word. We have taught you in your speaker chapter. The then is the key word for your absolute majority, effective majority, anything that you will be thinking about of the House, provided that no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days of notice has to be given. So this is a direct statement which is taken up. So this is correct. So the correct answer is 1 and 3 only, which is C. Okay. Look at this. Consider the following statements. If any question arises as to whether a member of the House of the People has been subject to disqualification under 10th schedule, President's decision in accordance with the opinion of Council of Union Ministers shall be final. See here, your assumption might be, President is agreeing with your Council of Ministers. Previous questions, it was like, without aid and advice also. So here you might get a chance of confusing. But here the keyword itself is, it is not a President. It is either the Speaker or Chairman of the House, not President. This is wrong. There is no mention of the word political party in the Constitution of India. Now in your 52nd amendment, it was added, okay, person belonging to a political party. So this is there in the Constitution of India, meaning this is also wrong. Understanding? So the correct answer is D, neither 1 nor 2. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. In India, state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in these territories. See, this is directly based off your current affair question which came out in 2023 when your Rajya Sabha bought it. The state government has the power for making rules for grant of concessions and also with regard to your royalty, with regard to your leasing. Okay, the statement is directly taken from the bill and just the word no is added. No, state government has the power. So the first statement was wrong. It has power. Now look at the second statement. In India, central government has the power to notify minor minerals under the relevant law. Again, this is also directly taken from the Act. Yes, central government has the power to notify, and it has notified, for example, your gravel, sand, marble as minor minerals. So statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is correct. D, statement 1 is not correct, statement 2 is correct. Look at this. Which of the following statements with regard to recommendation of 15th Finance Commission of India are correct? It has recommended grants of 4,800 crores from year 2022 to 2025 for incentivizing state to enhance educational outcomes. This is correct. Directly it is taken from your topic. 45% of net proceeds of union taxes. It is not 45%, it is 41%. So this is wrong. Third statement, 45,000 crores are to be kept as performance-based incentive for all states. This is also correct. It reintroduced tax effort criteria to reward fiscal performance. This is also correct. So apart from your 2, everything is correct. That is 1, 3 and 4. Option is C. Look at this. With reference to Indian polity, consider the following statements. An ordinance. First of all, ordinance, whatever your normal law can do, something that is passed by your parliament. Ordinance means what? Parliament is not in session, either one of the houses not in session, immediately some situation has come where they have to pass a law, it is passed by your president, yes, all of those. So any power that your parliament has, usually an ordinance can also do that. Understanding? Now look at the same thing, leave out the word ordinance and see if parliament can do that. Can a parliament amend any central act? Yes. An ordinance, can it amend any central act? Yes. It is correct. An ordinance can abridge a fundamental right. Can parliament through any law abridge anything that is there in part 3 of the constitution or your fundamental rights? No. When parliament does not have the power to do something, that means your ordinance also does not have the power to do something. So this is wrong. An ordinance can come into effect from a back date. What does it mean, back date? Let's say today is 26th of let's say May 2025. Just assume this. I can make law which will come into effect from, let's say, 3rd April 2019. I am passing the law today, but I can tell this law will be effective from this date. This is what we call as back date. Otherwise, call as retrospective law, which means something that is applicable from previous date. Can parliament do this? Yes, parliament has the power to pass a retrospective law. If parliament can pass, can an ordinance also pass it? Yes. So, which of them are correct apart from 2? Your 1 and 3 are correct, which is option C. Consider the following pairs. Arunachal Pradesh, the capital is named after a fort and the state has 2 national parks. Yes, the capital Itanagar is named after a Ita fort and state has 2 national parks, your Namdapa and Mauling. Nagaland, the state came into existence on the basis of Constitutional Amendment Act. Yes, it did obtain your statehood officially from 1963. So this is also correct. Tripura initially was a Part C state and later it became a centrally administered territory in 1956 and later attained the status of a full-fledged state. This is also correct. The correct answer is all the 3. C. Look at this. With reference to India, consider the following. Interstate Council, National Security Council, Zonal Council. How many of the above were established as the provisions of Constitution of India? See, with respect to Interstate Council, yes, it is a constitutionally established body. Your National Security Council was not established by Constitution, but it was more of an executive order. Alright. With respect to zonal councils are not considered as your constitutional bodies, but rather as your statutory bodies, which were constituted under State Reorganization Act. of 1956. So this is through executive order, this is a statutory body, and this is the only one that is a constitutional body. Correct answer is A, only one. Look at this. Consider the following statements. The Constitution of India explicitly mentions that in certain spheres, the governor of a state acts in his or her own discretion. The key word here, acts according to his or her own discretion. Think of this, where does governor have discretion, that is his own discretion? For example, A, when they reserve a bill, yes or no? That is where recently, if you have seen in the current affairs, this was there on a very large extent. It was, we also predicted very widely that governor topic, it was almost everyday topic. Yes, governor is the one that will reserve a bill, and that is why the constant conflict between your state government and governor happens. Second thing is to impose president's rule with regard to 6th schedule. Understanding? So he or she with respect to governor has their own discretion. This statement is correct. Constitution of India explicitly mentions that in certain spheres, the governor of a state acts in his or her own discretion. See, in this recent case only, no, it came up where your Supreme Court passed your complete or your total justice or complete justice concept was introduced, present current affairs topic. This was very expected topic. We have predicted it like so many a number of times that you do refer to this. This is very important. The President of India can, of his or her own, again the keyword here. See, here it is governor and his or her own. Next it is president and his or her own. We have constantly taught you that the discretionary powers of governor is higher than that of president, because constitution by it is mandated that the president has to act according to the aid and advice of the COM, whereas the same is not there for the governor, explicitly bound. This is where we tell that he has discretionary powers compared to higher, which is compared to president, whereas the president, it is always bound by, understanding, aid and advice of the COM. The President of India can, of his or own reserve a bill passed by state legislature for his or her consideration without it being forwarded by the governor of a state. The very first thing we spoke. Only governor can reserve a bill. President on his own for his own consideration cannot reserve a bill. So this statement is wrong. Understanding? So which is A, one only. Consider the following pairs. Separation of judiciary from the executive in public services of the state is mentioned in part 4 of the Indian Constitution, which is DPSP. This is correct. Valuing and preserving of the rich heritage of the composite culture. Fundamental duties, that is your part 4A. Also correct. Prohibition of employment of children below the age of 14 years in factories, that is your article 24. That is your fundamental rights, part 3. So how many of the above pairs are correctly matched? See, all of the above. Consider the following statements. With reference to Constitution of India, if an area of a state is declared as schedule area under 5th schedule, okay, the state government loses its executive power in such areas and local body assumes total administration. See, understand, if within your state, that is within your territory, can you, logic pe you think, can you tell the state government, this area is completely outside your jurisdiction? Look at the word here, loses its executive power. Have we ever discussed or seen such a scenario where state government will not have control of its own territory? So this is outright wrong. Loses its executive power? No. It will be still under state government, but it will function according to Tribal Advisory Council. See, the statement itself is extremely drastic. Drastic statements are to bring in a red flag. We mentioned state government loses its executive power. Why will it lose its executive power? Yes, now if I tell, yes, its functions is still there. I mean that its power is still there in that place, but it will function according to Tribal Advisory Council. That is agreeable. It is not drastic. So this statement, whether you knew the answer or not, you could still take a shot because it is too drastic of a statement. So this is wrong. Next, the union government can take over the total administration of such areas under certain circumstances on the recommendations of the governor. Here, there is only one thing that has to bring in a red flag to you. Total administration, again the same thing. It is too drastic. Why will it be total administration? And second thing, the administration will, see, yes, here the governor will have special legislature. He will have much more powers, etc. But the administration will still be under state government and not under your union government. So this statement is also wrong. Whether you knew this or not, but you could take a shot with these words. So the correct answer is D, neither 1 nor 2. Next. With reference to India, consider the following pairs: National Automotive Board, COIR Board, National Center for Trade Information. Okay, look at this one small thing you look. National Center for Trade Information and MSME alongside COIR Board. Which do you think is more similar to your MSME? Making of COIRs. So that is your MSME board. So your COIR board is not Ministry of Heavy Industries. It is Ministry of MSME. National Center for Trade Information. This more seems like your Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So this is also wrong. Next is National Automotive Board is not Ministry of Commerce and Industry, but it is rather Ministry of Heavy Industries. So all three are wrong. How many pairs are correctly matched? D, none of the pairs are correctly matched. Look at this. Consider the following subjects under the Constitution of India. Now, very clearly, before we read this, I will read this part of the statement. For a constitutional amendment with respect to which of the above, ratification by the legislatures of not less than 1/2 of the state is required before presenting the bill to the President of India for assent. In simple words, you have a lot of majorities, simple majority, absolute majority, etc. For which of these majorities state ratification is needed? Which of these topics ke liye states, that is more than 50% of the states should agree. See here, list 1 is union list in the 7th schedule. This might at that point make you think that union list is only considered about and it has only things about the center. Why will the states have anything to do with this? This is where you have to look about. Anything to do with lists, all lists, central list, state list, concurrent list, all of these things, if any changes have to be made, then all of those needs state ratification. So this needs state ratification. Look at the second one. Executive power of state. It is out and out, just right written there. Executive power of state you will curb without even discussing or without even agreeing of state? No, you need for this also. Conditions for governor's office. For this, it is not needed. Understanding? This is more of like considered as an agent of center, etc. We will speak those things, no? So, your conditions of governor's office ke liye state ratification is not needed. It is needed in first two cases. For example, if it has anything to do with the election of president, okay, in those scenarios also your state ratification is needed. So the correct answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Look at this. With reference to Indian polity, consider the following statements. The governor of a state is not answerable to any court for the exercise and performances of the powers and duty of his or her office. In simple, they are telling, is governor of state answerable to any court for he doing his duty? His office, his or her office means that on official capacity. Okay. So, yes, for his official capacity, any actions done by him, he is not answerable. This is correct. No criminal proceedings shall be instituted or continued against the governor during his or her term of the office. Yes, this is the privilege for the post, for the position that he holds. Members of a state legislature are not liable to any proceedings in any court in respect to anything said within the house. This is your contribution of freedom of speech and parliamentary privilege. So this is also correct. Which of the above are correct? All three, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. This is it for your polity questions. So you have seen it is pretty much straightforward, and you would almost the basic of how the elimination is. Using that itself you could answer many of these questions. On the whole, I would say the polity paper was easier on this year. Okay. Thank you.
स्पोर्ट्स वाला कवर किया स्पोर्ट्स वाले क्वेश्चन 59 एंड 60 नहीं है Alright guys, so let's continue with the remaining questions. We have around 28 questions remaining. So I'll be taking up the economics question. We have this year around 16 questions from Indian economy. There are also 2 questions of sports. One is related to chess and the other is related to the Kho-Kho World Cup. So we'll take that up as well, and a lot of other miscellaneous questions as well. So let's get started with the remaining 28 questions, starting from question number 15. So question number 15, now this is a very factual question. And now UPSC is with this going back with respect to 2016-17 papers when they used to ask with respect to international organizations, what report they bring out or what missions they have. So that is back in news. In fact, in 2018, AIIB question was asked. In 2016, ADB question was asked. Now we are seeing them again, but with respect to something else. That is why the previous year question paper plays a very important role in order to understand what are the recurring themes of UPSC. So let's get started with question 15. It asks, which one of the following launched the Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and the Pacific? Now, here you can guess a bit, but I would ask you to avoid that. You should factually know it, because if you see that the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, it is generally for reconstruction of the developing nations. So entire Asia Pacific, and if they do it, it will be for the entire world. So there is some regional bias or regional preference over here. That's point number one. Point number two, if you look at the New Development Bank, NDB, now NDB is that of BRICS nations, right? So what role will it have with respect to Asia and the Pacific? Probably not, because it consists of Brazil, it consists of Russia, India, China, various other players have also been included now. So logically you can try to exclude these options, but this will be slightly difficult to do so. It is quite factual. The correct answer here is option A, that is the Asian Development Bank. So it is the Asian Development Bank that has launched the Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific. Now what is this Nature Solutions Finance Hub? So basically finance hub, here the financing will be done, but with respect to natural solutions which will have huge amount of impact with respect to conservation of the environment. So the projects that will be undertaken in this will be with respect to nature conservation. Quite factual. However, you can eliminate these options and be left with two options. And the moment you are left with two options, probability wise speaking, you should solve all such questions. So that was about question number 15. Now, majorly, let's move on to the economic question. That is, this is paper set B. So economic questions here is starting from question number 31. So total 16 questions are there of economy. From 31 to 40, continuously you have economic question. So let us see what are they. Question number 31. So this question asks, with reference to the investments, consider the following. So one they have given as bonds, hedge funds, stocks, and the fourth option here is the venture capital. So venture capital is given by venture capitalists. Hedge funds are there to hedge the risks that you might be having. Hedging means cutting something off. So generally hedge funds are used to reduce or cut off your risks. So hedge funds are used for that. Then you have bonds, which of course are debt instruments. And then you have stocks. Stocks are equity instruments. So now with respect to this, what are they asking? They're asking how many of the above are treated as alternative investments. So now what is the concept of alternative investments? See, basically you have some common investment tools or instruments that are there. For example, the bonds, for example, stocks. They are very common investment arenas. Apart from these common investment arenas, whatever arenas remain are generally clubbed under the alternate investments, because they are giving you some additional avenues to invest in. So here the hedge funds are one such alternative investment. The second alternative investment here would be the venture capitalist. Now with respect to bonds, there might be some nuances, but generally the bond, which is a debt instrument, is not a kind of alternative. It is a direct investment. So here you will have only two that is correct. That is B. Only two is correct over here. Moving ahead, question number 32. Now the question asks, which of the following are the sources of income for the Reserve Bank of India? Yes, the sources of income is being asked. Now Reserve Bank was in news. Why? Because see, the Reserve Bank makes a huge amount of profit, you can say, or a huge amount of revenue or reserve it creates. How does it do that? It does open market operations, the swap of currency, the open market operation wherein it buys, sells dollars depending upon what is the need of the hour. Based on this and various other activities, it can make up losses also, but it can actually end up making profit also. So India's central bank, that is the Reserve Bank of India, has been making profit successfully. In fact, out of those profit, a huge amount of money is transferred to the government of India. Last year, RBI had transferred around 2.11 lakh crore rupees to the government of India, and this year it is proposed that around 2.5 lakh crore would be transferred to the government of India, round about this figure, right? So where does their income come from? Let us see that. Number one, buying and selling of the government securities. So buying and selling of government securities is done. Why it is done? To control inflation, to boost growth. All those are the reasons why it does that. Also for government borrowing as well. So one, buying and selling of foreign currency is the first statement. That is correct. Buying and selling of government bonds is the first statement. That is correct. So it definitely can make profits from that. But is that the function of the RBI to make profits from this particular thing? No, absolutely not. Second is buying and selling of foreign currency. Now, when the RBI buys and sells foreign currency, there would be time lag. So the currency would keep on fluctuating. So there is a possibility that RBI makes profits from this. Then yes, it is one of the sources of income of the RBI. So statement 2 is correct over here. The options which has statement 2 as correct is D, B and A. So we can eliminate option C from here, right? Next is pension fund management. Now, even if you don't know this exactly, nothing to worry. Let's move ahead. Fourth is lending to private companies. Now, does RBI lend to private companies? No, it does not lend to private companies. Companies like L&T or any big MNC cannot go to RBI directly to borrow funds. Absolutely not. So this will be again incorrect. So option with so this particular option, lending to private companies, will also be incorrect. Now the fifth is printing and distribution of currency notes. Now many people think that the printing and distribution of currency notes may generate some amount of profit to the RBI. But no, that is not the case. Of course, we know when you are printing a 500 rupee note, you do not require 500 rupees to print that note. You require maybe around 3 to 4 rupees to print it, right? But this currency that is printed is not a source of income for RBI. So the option which has fifth, anyhow, it goes away. So yes, option statement fifth is here, it goes away. The correct answer here will be A, that is 1 and 2 only. Let's move ahead to the next question. Now this question is quite factual again, and here now the UPSC has started giving us 3 different columns. So earlier in match the followings you used to have 2 columns, now there are 3 columns. This is quite a factual statement. So let us see what is the answer for this. Question number 33. With reference to the government of India, consider the following information. Number 1, Directorate of Enforcement. Now here it works under what? So they have given that it works under the internal security, because they might think that a student who does not know the enforcement directorate will look at the enforcement word and think that it is related to security of India, but that is not the case, right? So you cannot simply guess. You cannot simply guess, but any serious aspirants would have heard the enforcement directorate's name time and time again, wherein the ED seizes the assets, etc. So it is related to enforcement with respect to the financial assets, freezing of the financial assets of the fugitives, etc., etc., talking about raids in the houses or businesses of big top shots. So that is what Directorate of Enforcement does. Hence, it is of course not under Ministry of Internal Security. It is under the Ministry of Finance. So first is incorrect. So all of the 3 statements being correct, that option goes out. Second is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. Now, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, yes. Revenue, if you talk about Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue, yes, it's a direct match. But you have another challenge here, that is, it enforces the provisions of the Customs Act of 1962. Is that correct? Yes. So this possibly is the only right answer that will be here. Let us also look at statement 3, that is Directorate General of Systems and Data Management. It says that this is also under Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. That is incorrect. It comes under the CBIC. So statement 3 is also wrong. That means the only correct option is A. Only one statement out of the 3 is correct over here. Moving on to the next question, that is 34. Now in 34, the two statements that are given is, the Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies. So here, remember, whenever you come across terms like all, none, every time, all the time, with respect to everything, everyone, these are extreme statements. So I'm not going to say that every time it will be wrong only, but to mark such statements as right, you need to be absolutely sure. And if you have to take a logical guess, if you are left with two options, more often than not, such extreme statements will be wrong. So let's see what's the statement. The Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies in India to submit a business responsibility and sustainability report. That is incorrect. It does not mandate all the companies, but only top few companies are mandated by RBI to submit this report. So statement 1 becomes incorrect. The moment statement 1 is incorrect, what happens to your options? See, prelims is about elimination. So immediately eliminate that. Since statement 1 is incorrect, this is gone and this is also gone. Now you are left with only two options. That means now you should solve this question. So what is the second statement over here? Second statement is, in India, a company submitting a BRSR, that is Business Responsibility Sustainability Report, makes disclosures in the report that are largely non-financial in nature. Is it the case? Yes. In fact, even if you don't know, with the help of extreme statement, you have eliminated statement 1, you have understood it is wrong. Now you are left with two options. So look at the name of the report. Business responsibility. Try to equate it with the your CSR report, corporate social responsibility. It is similar, business responsibility and sustainability report. So majorly it will be dealing with the things that are non-financial in nature. So statement 2 is absolutely right over here. So your correct answer here becomes B, that is 2 only. So B, that is 2 only, is correct. Moving on to question number 35. Now in question number 35, we have two statements. Right, these kind of questions can be confusing. In fact, in the last year prelims, whose key has been recently released by UPSC, they have dropped total 3 questions. 2 of those 3 questions were having various statements. Right, so even UPSC was confused probably. So let us see what is the answer here. Question number 35, the statement 1 here says, in India, income from allied agricultural activities, income from allied agricultural activities are like poultry farming, wool rearing in rural area is exempted from any tax. Now, we all know that the agricultural income is exempted from tax. But is the allied activities income also exempted from tax? No, that is not the case. In fact, they have specifically mentioned also poultry and wool rearing to give you a hint. So these allied activities do come under taxation. So statement 1 becomes wrong. The moment statement 1 becomes wrong, what do you get? This option is gone. This option is gone. Even this option is gone. And the only option that remains is statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. However, still do not mark in your OMR sheet. You still need to go through the other statement as well, because UPSC wants you to tick the most appropriate answer. So still we'll read the next sentence. Next statement. Next statement is, in India, rural agricultural land is not considered as capital asset under the provision of the Income Tax Act 1961. That is correct. Now why is that correct? Now related to agricultural land, if it is considered as a capital asset, and then what will happen? If you sell that, you might have some gain. You might have bought that land for 50 lakhs. You might be selling it for 70 lakhs. So then that will be considered as a capital gains. Then you will be required to pay taxes of capital gains taxes over there, long term or short term. But you don't pay any taxes on the agricultural land, right? So the thing over here is, the rural agricultural land is not considered as a capital asset under the provisions of the Income Tax Act of 1961. This is a correct statement. Hence, the correct answer, as we got just by the first statement only, will be D. That is, statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 over here is correct. If you would have just known that the first statement is incorrect, you would have directly got the answer. So the paper is not as difficult as it seems. Under that pressure, we may think it is difficult, but if you stay calm, you can do very well over here. Moving ahead, question number 36. Consider the following statements. India has joined the Mineral Security Partnerships as a member. Yes. This is factual. India has joined it. India has become, in fact, the 14th member to do so. So India has joined this. So statement 1 is correct. Now, the moment statement 1 is correct, this option will be kicked out of the window. But you are still left with 3 options, right? So we need to still know something more. So what is this? India is a resource-rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that it has identified, right? So India has a list of 30 critical minerals, but the thing is, India is not a resource-rich country in all the 30. In fact, India depends very highly on imports of these critical minerals. So statement 2 here becomes incorrect. The moment statement 2 is incorrect, what happens? This is gone. This is gone. You're only left with one option, that is C. So all you need to know is just these 2 statements over here. But the first statement is quite factual. The second statement, at least you can guess. A lot of critical elements, we are importing those critical elements even from China, various other countries. So that the second statement is guessable. The first statement is quite factual, right? But still, we'll look at the third statement as well. The third statement is, the Parliament 2023 has amended the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957, empowering the central government to exclusively auction mining leases and composite licenses for certain critical minerals. Yes. Again, a factual statement which is correct, but you don't even have to know this if you just know the first 2 statements. In that also, the first statement is important for us to know. The second statement you can deduce to some extent. So the correct answer here is C. That is, 1 and 3 only are correct over here. Moving ahead, question number 37. Now, question number 37 says, it has in fact 3 statements. So 3 statement questions have also started coming from last year. These are the type of questions UPSC also dropped. So be very careful while solving such statements. Let us look at it. Statement 1 says, as regards returns from an investment in a company generally, bondholders are considered to be relatively at lower risk than stockholders. Yes. Correct statement. Why this is correct? See, stockholders are considered to be the owners of the company, right? So what will happen when you are the owner of the company? If there is a loss, you have to bear it. But bond is a debt instrument. Debt is nothing but borrowing that you have taken from someone else who has purchased your bonds. So you have to repay them. If the company is making losses, the company is about to close and you have to sell everything. After selling everything, it's not the owner who will be getting the money. First, the borrowers have to be given the money. So it is the creditors who have to be given the money. So the person who will hold the bond will be given the money. That is why bonds will have lesser risk than the person who is holding stocks. So statement 1 is correct. Second is, now don't go into deducing or eliminating because there are 3 statements. It gets a bit complex. So let's just understand what is happening. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, bondholders are lenders to a company whereas stockholders are its owners. Yes, absolutely right. The stockholders are the actual owners of the company. Bondholders are simply giving the credit. So they are simply creditors, right? From which the company has taken loan or credit. So this is also correct. Statement 2 is also correct. So we clearly know here that both statement, both 1 is correct, 2 is also correct. Let's see what the third talks about. Statement 3 says, for repayment purposes, bondholders are prioritized over stockholders by a company. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Why? Because they are creditors. So all 3 statements are correct. Now what are the kind of options? Let us see. It says both statement 2 and 3 are correct and both of them explain statement 1. Yes. Yes. Why? See, statement 3 says For repayment purposes, bond holders are prioritized. Yes. Bond holders are lenders to a company, whereas stockholders are its owners. Yes. And that is why, because of these two reasons, bond holders are regarded to be having less risk than the stockholders. So both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and they correctly explain statement 1. But let us look at what other options are. So other options, option B, both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 1 explains statement 2. No, statement 1 is basically talking about the final consequence. Now if you look at option C, only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct. No, we have seen all the statements are correct, so this also is wrong. Neither statement 2 nor statement 3 is correct. This is also wrong because all statements are correct. All right, let's move ahead. Question number 38 also is economy. So question number 38 talks about India accounts for very large portion of all equity options contract traded globally, thus exhibiting a great boom. Yes, India does do that. Now this is factual. Why it is factual? Because recently only India has also overtaken Hong Kong. So that is there in second statement. Second statement is India's stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past, even overtaking Hong Kong at some point of time. Yes, Indian stock market, it has overtaken Hong Kong also at some point of time. So 1 and 2 are correct. When 1 and 2 are correct over here, so this goes out, this goes out. We'll have to now see the third statement. So the third statement is there is no regulatory body either to warn small investors about the risk of option tradings or to act on unregistered financial advisors in this regard. That's not the case. You have such a big market, so now you have to choose. Even if you don't know this, you can easily guess. Such a big market, greater than Hong Kong, will it not have any regulator to warn? Of course it will have, right? Securities Exchange Board of India, of course it will have a regulator, right? So yes, it will have a regulator. Statement 3 is wrong. The moment statement 3 is wrong, if you did not know the first two also, the third statement is very easy. There will be a regulator, and since there will be a regulator, statement 3 will be wrong, which itself can tell you option D is wrong, option C is wrong, option B is wrong. The only correct option is A, that is 1 and 2 only. Moving ahead, question number 39, it is sort of a mix of economy and environment, but since the major focus is the circular economy, so we will now, we have considered it as a part of the Indian economy question. Now, what does it say? Circular economy. Basically, circular economy, recycling of waste, all those things are going to happen over here. That's the concept. So, circular economy, it reduces the emission of greenhouse gases. Yes, it will, because then you will be using less, because you will be recycling all that. So, you won't use additional things over here. It will conserve. So, that is correct. Circular economy reduces the use of raw materials. Yes. Circular economy reduces wastages in the production. Yes. So, since it will reduce the use of raw material, reduce the wastages, ultimately that will lead to less emission of greenhouse gases. All statements are correct, and statement 2 and 3 correctly explains statement 1. So do we have that option? Yes, we have that option. Option A, both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, and both of them are explaining statement 1. What are the other options? Neither 2 or 3 are correct. That's wrong. This option is wrong. Only one of the statement. This is also wrong. Both statements are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. This is also wrong. The only correct option is option A over here. Moving ahead, question number 40. So in question number 40, again there are 3 statements. Statement 1, capital receipts create liability or cause reduction in the assets of the government. Yes. What are capital receipts? Any receipt that will either increase the liability or reduce the asset is a capital receipt, right? So it's a classical definition of capital receipt. Very easy, it's a basic question. Statement 1 is correct, so this option is gone. Second statement is borrowings and disinvestments are capital receipts. Yes. Borrowing a loan, when you borrow a loan, your liability increases. It's a capital receipt. Disinvestment, when you sell off a PSU, for example, public sector unit, so your asset reduces, which leads to increase in the revenue receipt, right? So this is also example of capital receipt. So second is correct. Since second is correct, This option is also gone. Now you are left with A and D. So what is the third statement? Interest received on loans creates a liability of the government. So interest which is received, it will not be a liability because you don't have to pay it back. You are taking a loan, you have to pay back. You are taking a receipt, an interest in the form of interest, you don't have to pay it to anyone, right? So it's not a liability over here. So only 1 and 2, that is A, is correct over here. All right. So these are from 31 to 40, all are economic questions. Now economic questions will again come in set B from 71 onwards. Let's take up some other questions as well. Let's go to question number 50, which are miscellaneous questions of different fields. We also have sports related questions as well. All right. So now let us look at question number 50. Now Rashtriya Gokul Mission also you can consider it with respect to economy, with respect to the agriculture and the allied activities. It is a scheme, but yes, you can take it in economy as well. So question number 50, it has given two statements about the Rashtriya Gokul Mission. Rashtriya means national. So I believe there is some amount of Hindi bias in the schemes that are being named. So people who do not understand Hindi, there can be an issue. The moment I read this, Rashtriya, I know it's national. So I know it's a national level mission that we are talking about. Anyway, that's for a different discussion altogether. With respect to the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, statement 1, it is important for the upliftment of rural poor as majority of low producing indigenous animals are with small and marginal farmers and landless laborer. Yes, this is a factual question, but yes, why is that the case? The marginal farmers who are there, they have very uncertainty. Of course, they may not be having irrigation, they may not be having huge farms. So the allied activities helps them even more. And that gives them some certainty of income as well as nutrition from the products of the allied activities, right? So this is there. Second, it was initiated to promote. So statement 1 is correct. Second is it was initiated to promote indigenous cattle and buffalo rearing and conservation in a scientific and holistic manner. Yes, that is why it was initiated, right? So both the statements here which are factual is correct. It's a factual thing. So if you know about the mission, good. If you don't, do not try to guess over here. It's a very factual question. Moving on to question number 52, right? So in question number 52, statement 1, it says that it is a regional organization consisting of 7 members till January 2025. Yes, it is of 7 members. The statement is correct. So the moment this statement is correct, this is gone. Now statement 2 says it came into existence with the signing of the Dhaka Declaration in 1999. No, it came into existence by the signing of Bangkok Declaration in 1997. So remember, any organization, let's say BRICS, so with what declaration it was formed? So you should know that it's a direct understanding for your future examination who are preparing for the upcoming prelims. And I believe the people who have prepared for this time have followed this basics. So first is correct, second is incorrect. The moment second becomes incorrect, just give me a minute, guys. Alright guys, so let's continue here. So statement 1 we have seen, it is correct. Statement 2 is wrong. So the moment statement 2 is wrong, this is gone. But still we have 2 options still left. Statement 3, anyhow you don't have to worry about statement 3 because statement 3 option is already gone, but still please read it. Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Nepal are the founding member states of BIMSTEC. Wrong, because it is just Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. In fact, BIMSTEC was earlier known as BISTEC. When Myanmar was added, it became BIMSTEC. Earlier it was BISTEC and Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand were the founding members. So third is incorrect. Now fourth statement. Let's look at the fourth statement which will actually decide what answer it will be. In BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism is being led by India. No, it is not being led by India. It is being led by Thailand. The subsector that India leads is related to security. So fourth statement is also wrong. The correct option is option D, that is one only. So let's move ahead now. We have question number 53 as well. So now the question number 53, it talks about who amongst the following are members of the jury to select the recipient of the Gandhi Peace Prize. So when you're talking about selection of a recipient of the Gandhi Peace Prize, please remember one thing. The president does not get involved when it comes to selection. Just this thing you should know, that's it. So you can make it a lot easier, right? So if you know that president will not be involved, this person is not involved. So this is gone, this is gone. What are you left with? Two options, 2 and 4, 2, 3 and 4. So 2 and 4 will be there, right? But let us look at it. 2, Prime Minister, yes, Prime Minister is involved. The Chief Justice of India, yes. Generally, when such committees are sitting, the Prime Minister will be there. Generally, the Chief Justice of India will be there. Also, the leader of the opposition of the Lok Sabha will also be there, right? Majorly, these three people will be there. Fourth is leader of the opposition of the Lok Sabha. Yes, that is correct. So 2, 3 and 4, correct option is C, because third, that is Chief Justice of India, is also included. Who else are included? You have the Speaker of Lok Sabha also, plus 2 other members as well. So this is the entire committee. It does not include President. Remember, in such things, in such committees, President is generally not present. If in future President does do something like this, it will be very special and you should be remembering that as well. But for now, know that President is not included. That is why what happens, you are left with just 2 options. And generally, the Prime Minister, CJI, leader of the opposition are a part of such committees. So it is a very generic, even though it is specifically asking for Gandhi Peace Prize, these committees generally have these people involved. The next question we will look at is question number 56. Very factual question. It's a question which could be respected and left if you do not know it. It's very hard to guess it. Alright, it started from the year of millets when the question was asked with respect to year of millets. Now they have asked all the international year of different things. So here, if you look at it, all the 4 statements are very factual. International Year of the Women Farmer 2026, yes, this you could probably know, it was in news. International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism 27, yes. International Year of Peace and Trust 25, yes. International Year of Asteroid Awareness Planetary Defense 29, yes, all are correctly matched. Very factual. If you don't know it, respect it. Do not take it on your ego and leave this answer, leave this question. The correct option here will be option D. That is, all 4 are correct. Now next question, question number 57. Question number 57 has again 3 statements. Consider the following statement with regards to BRICS. Now, 16th BRICS summit was held under the chairmanship of Russia. Yes, Russia in Kazan. First statement is correct. Statement 2, Indonesia has become a full member of BRICS. Yes, that is also correct. See, BRICS, earlier BRICS was known as BRIC. Brazil, Russia, India and China. Then South Africa got added, so it became BRICS. After which more countries have also got added. Indonesia, UAE, Saudi Arabia were further countries which have been added. So that is why this question is coming. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 3, the theme of 16th BRICS Summit was strengthening multiculturalism for just global development and strategy. Now here, there are 2 giveaways. One giveaway is multicultural, which you should factually know. It is not multicultural, it is multilateralism, not multiculturalism. So it is not specific to culture, but multilateralism, it is quite generic. And it's saying for just global development and security, such kind of vague sentences, it's difficult to be used. So that could irk you and make you think, but factually speaking, it's not multiculturalism, it is multilateralism, which makes statement 3 to be incorrect. So 1 and 2 are correct, statement 3 is incorrect. So the correct answer here will be option A, that is statement 1 and 2. Now once we are done with this, let's take up 2 questions that have come from games and sports, right? So UPSC wants us to not just focus on cricket but other sports as well. So let's see what last time UPSC when they have asked the question, it was related to cricket, then the test championship, and also Olympics. So Olympics have been frequent. In fact, cricket has also been frequent, not just in prelims, but in mains 2014-15 also mains question had come with respect to DRS. So sports, every now and then UPSC is giving. So let us see this question. Consider the following statement with respect to Kho-Kho World Cup. Now, Kho-Kho is a time immemorial game in India. Of course, we will win it, and that is what we have done. So let us see. Statement 1, the event was held in Delhi, India. That is the first statement. Now, this is also, remember, it is very factual. Either you know it or you don't know it. So, yes, it was held in Delhi. Statement 1 is correct. So, this goes out. Statement 2, Indian men beat Nepal with a score of 78-40 in the finals. Indian women beat Nepal with a score of 54-36. Now, this what they have done is they have swapped the score. Indian men beat Nepal by this score. Indian women beat Nepal by this score. So, that is the factual inaccuracy of the statement. They have simply swapped it. Alright. So, both the statements are wrong. So, 2 and 3 is wrong. So, this is gone. This is gone. The only answer, the only correct option that remains is A, 1 only. Only first statement is correct. Now, question number 60. Now, of course, now this you should know because Gukesh became quite famous. We were very proud of his feat, right? What he achieved. So, we should be knowing this. In the finals of the 45th Chess Olympiad, in 2024, Gukesh D. Domaraju, he became the world's youngest winner after defeating the Russian player Ian Nepomniachtchi. Probably that's how it is pronounced. Now, this is incorrect because he did not beat the Russian player. They have given Russian player because if you are guessing, you might say, yes, yeah, this person might have beaten the Russian player only. Because when you talk about the grandmasters, the very famous grandmaster, of course, is our own Vishwanathan Anand. Apart from that, if generally we know, we might be knowing Garry Kasparov, right? So Russian players are also quite famous with respect to chess. There have been amazing Russian players. India has, of course, done exceptionally well, no doubt. But the other country we could think of is Russia. So that is why they have tried to, attract you to this option. But it is very factual. Either you know it or you don't know it. So he defeated a Chinese, not a Russian. Just if you know that, you can solve this. Second, Abhimanyu Mishra, right? Indian name Abhimanyu Mishra, but an American chess player holds the record for becoming the world's youngest ever grandmaster. So statement 2 over here is correct. Which one of the above statements are correct is what is being asked over here. So here statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. So the correct option is B, 2 only. Right. So these were some sports related questions that have been asked. Let's now move on to question number 62. Now the Quant system, which was recently in news, we have covered that in our current affairs. So let us see about the Quant system now. 3 statements are given. Indian Railways have prepared a national rail plan to create a future-ready railway system. Yes, it has, but not by 2028, but by 2030. So what UPSC generally does is, goes onto the website, copies the exact same sentence and changes one thing here and there. That is why in your free time, you should visit various ministry websites, various websites with respect to, let's say, the different schemes that are there of the ministry, international websites also, and see what are their objectives, provisions, so that you will be aware if something like this is changed. So the target here is 2030, so statement 1 is wrong. The moment you know statement 1 is wrong, this is gone. Right? This will be incorrect over here. Now what is statement 2? Kavach is an automatic. Kavach is an automatic and they are asking not correct. So remember this, see, we can make this mistake even while solving it here. It's asking incorrect. That's why don't immediately do mark it in your OMR sheet. Do one entire iteration, then come back again and only then mark so that you can avoid such mistakes. So the answer is asking is incorrect. So when they are asking incorrect, what will happen? Statement 1 is incorrect. Yes. Since statement 1 is incorrect, this option is gone. Second statement is Kavach is an automatic train protection system developed in collaboration with Germany. No, the Indian companies have developed it. So second statement is also incorrect. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Right. So options which have statement 1 and 2 will be correct options. So this and this. This option is also gone. Now the third statement is Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in stations, in station sections? Yes, it do have. It have throughout the railway track and also in the station section as well. So they are not saying that the coverage system consists of RFID tags fitted on tracks in station section only. They're not saying that. They're saying, is it there in the station section? Yes. It is there throughout. So of course it will be there in the station section. Do not think it is there throughout, so this will be wrong. No, this will be correct because station section is a part of the entire railway track. Yes, so remember this, do not get confused in this. So this is a correct statement, hence the option cannot include 3 because they are asking the incorrect. That is why option A, 1 and 2 only will be the correct answer over here. Right, now let's get back to the economy question once again, starting from question number 71 onwards. So what is it? 71. Yes. Now this is a very interesting question. Now in our lectures we also explain with respect to figures so that students don't just know the concepts but they can derive also, and it was being done specifically for our students and a similar question because we expected that at some point of time UPSC can give you small amount of calculation to actually understand your concept. But while doing so, probably UPSC has missed out a point over here. What am I referring to? This year also, last year also, when they have released the key this year, they have dropped 3 questions. So there is a high possibility that this question will also be dropped. Let us understand why. So what is given over here? They asked us, suppose that the revenue expenditure is rupees 80,000. So revenue expenditure is rupees, pay attention here, 80,000 crore. Forget about crores, don't get confused, 80,000. And the revenue receipt of the government is 60,000 crore. Right? The government budget also shows borrowing of 10,000 crore. So borrowing of 10,000 crore. Borrowing of 10,000 crore means what? Debt creating capital receipt. Since you have borrowed, your liability has increased. It's a capital receipt, but it is creating a debt because you have to return it. So it's a debt creating capital receipt. It is equal to debt. The capital receipts are of 2 types, debt creating, non-debt creating. The loans are debt creating. The selling up of PSUs will generate capital receipt, that is non-debt creating. Is that clear? So borrowing here is a debt creating capital receipt. Right? And interest payment. Interest payment is what? Rupees 6,000 crore. Right? Rupees 6,000 crore. Now interest payment will be required to calculate primary deficit. Primary deficit is equals to fiscal deficit minus the interest payment. So we'll see that. Now what are they asking? They're asking the revenue deficit first. Statement 1 says revenue deficit is 20,000 crore. So what will be revenue deficit? Revenue deficit will be equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt, which is equal to 80 minus 60, which is equals to 20,000. Absolutely right. This statement is correct. Right? Now here comes the problem. Fiscal deficit. Statement 2 is talking about fiscal deficit. They are saying fiscal deficit is 10,000 crore. Now what is the formula or what is the concept of fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is equal to your total expenditure that is there minus not the total receipt. No, absolutely not. What do you do is, instead of minusing the entire total receipt, you will minus total revenue receipt plus non-debt creating capital receipt. So have we been given the capital expenditure? No, so we can't calculate total expenditure. Have we been given the non-debt creating capital receipt? No, this borrowing is a debt creating capital receipt. So basically you cannot calculate the fiscal deficit here, right? So you cannot say whether this is correct or not, and you don't have an option like which is saying that it cannot be solved, or it is saying only one is correct because other data is not available. So as of now, we know statement 1 is correct. Now the options which show statement 1 is correct is A, C and D. This is gone. But we cannot calculate statement 2 over here. Now since we cannot calculate fiscal deficit, when you come on to the primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. We are given the interest payment, but we do not know the fiscal deficit because we have not been given these things. Right? So what will happen? The student will not be able to solve this, and there is no option which says 1 only or anything like that. So what do you do? Now here, to solve this, it can be solved if we assume something. What do we assume? If we assume that whatever deficit a country is having, whatever fiscal deficit a country is having, it is going for complete fiscal deficit financing. So if this government basically completely finances its deficit, then we can solve it, and then your fiscal deficit will come out to be 10,000 crores, right? Because we are assuming that 10,000 crore borrowing is to finance the fiscal deficit, right? The entire borrowing is to finance the fiscal deficit. If that is the case, UPSC should have mentioned that, but UPSC has not mentioned it, so we cannot assume it. So possibly this question can be dropped. But if you still want to know what is the most appropriate answer if UPSC does not drop it, in that case, you will have to assume on your own. But we can't make assumptions, right? That to a very factual question, we can't make assumptions. That is not given to us. Anyhow, in an interview personality test, probably you can say, sir, if you give me, sir, ma'am, if you give me this, I can then tell you this would be the case, right? But this is an objective paper. So let us see, still try to solve it. If you are saying that this entire borrowing is for financing the fiscal deficit, then your fiscal deficit directly becomes 10,000 crore. Fiscal deficit will become 10,000 crore. The moment fiscal deficit becomes 10,000 crore, your primary deficit is what? Fiscal deficit minus interest payment, which is what? Which is 10,000 crore minus 6,000 crore, which will give you 4,000 crore. So then this statement will also be right. But these two statements are being right only if you are assuming that the entire fiscal deficit is being financed through this 10,000 crore of borrowing. So what is our take? What is my take over here is the UPSC might probably drop it. If they don't drop it, then this answer can be correct based on the assumption that the entire fiscal deficit is being financed through the 10,000 crore of borrowing. I hope that is absolutely clear. Now let's move ahead to the next question. The next economic question here is question number 75th. Now again a calculation based question, but this one is simpler. Now simpler, basically that was also simple, but there were no the things were not given which we needed. Now let us see, a country's fiscal deficit stands at 50,000 crore rupees. It's receiving 10,000 crore through a non-debt creating capital receipt. Non-debt creating capital receipt is 10,000 crore. The country's interest liabilities are, interest payment is 1,500 crores. What is the gross primary deficit? What is primary deficit? When you calculate primary deficit here, it is the gross that you are calculating. Okay, so primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus the interest payments. What is you don't even need this. There is absolutely no need for having this because this has already been used to calculate this. This is there for confusion. Don't worry about it, right? This would have been utilized if they would have asked us something else, but it's not. It's not needed. This is additional information. We just know fiscal deficit is 50,000, interest payment is 1,500, primary deficit equals fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So what happens? 50,000 crores minus 1,500, which gives you 48,500. Right? This is the answer. So your primary deficit is option A, 48,500. Do not worry about this and think that none of the above will be the answer. Okay? You don't even need that. It's a very straightforward thing. Let's move on to the next economic question. That is 76th one. Yes, right? Yes, 76th over here. We have, so 76, it has various statements. I think 4 statements are given. Let us see statement 1. Which of the following statements with regard to the recommendation of the 15th Finance Commission of India are correct? Boss, whatever Finance Commission is presently have recommended, you should know that. Even if it has gone 2-3 years back, you should still know. If it's recent, absolutely. If it is old, then also, because that's the Finance Commission in force, right? Yes. So, with regard to 15th Finance Commission, statement 1 says, it has recommended grant of 4,800 crore from the year 2022-23 to 25-26 for incentivizing states to enhance education outcome. Yes, for education outcome they have given. This is very factual, right? This is too factual, but we'll see by that some other generic statement can we solve this. Second statement is, So first statement is correct. Sorry, yeah. Second statement is 45% of the net proceeds of the union taxes are to be shared with the states. No, it is 41%. This is the major thing which the Finance Commission decides. So this you should know, right? This is a very generic thing which everyone should know who are giving prelims. So this we know that 41% it is, so statement 2 is incorrect. The moment statement 2 is incorrect, let's see what happens. They are asking us the correct. So when statement 2 is incorrect, this is gone, this is gone. In fact, this is also gone. So you are left with only one option. So here, please understand, question is not too factual and too difficult. It's very easy. All it wants to know that how much percentage has the 15th Finance Commission recommended to be devolved to the states from the central taxes. That is 41%. That's it. That has to be known. The moment you know it, you are left with just one option. That is C option. Now, here you talk about 45,000 crore are to be kept as performance-based incentive for all states for carrying out agricultural activities. Yes. It reintroduced tax effort criteria. Yes. So basically, you have 1, 3, and sorry, there's a text error over here. 1, 2, and 4. These 3 statements are correct. So the correct option is C, 1, 3, and 4. Let's move ahead. The next question. Consider the following statements in respect of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. What is this IBRD? IBRD is nothing but the World Bank. Yes, it is the World Bank. World Bank we think has five arms. World Bank does not have 5 arms. It is the World Bank group that has 5 arms. One of the arm is IBRD, which is nothing but the World Bank. When you include the rest of the 4 arms, it becomes World Bank group. So let's see what they have asked over here in question number 77. So here you have, it provides loans and guarantee to middle income countries. Yes, the middle income developing countries, it does give loans. It works single-handedly to help developing countries to reduce poverty. No, in association with various other arms also. Other arms are there for even more softer loans than the IBRD, right? So 2 will not be correct. Now, it was established to help Europe rebuild after Second World War. Yes. World Bank and IMF are known as Bretton Woods sisters, Bretton Woods twins. They were formed in the Bretton Woods conference immediately after the Second World War, when people decided that there should be no more war and whatever. So no more war, how will that be possible if the countries are trading properly, economic stability? For that, IMF was there. But whatever the war damages were done, the countries were required to be rebuilt. For that, World Bank was there, IBRD was there, right? So you will have 1 and 3 that are correct over here. Now, moving on to the next one, the 78. So here, consider the following statements in respect of RTGS and NEFT. These are 2 methods of transferring payments. If you open any mobile apps of the banks, ICICI or anything, you are asked whether you want to do it through RTGS or through NEFT, so on and so forth. So in RTGS, the settlement time is instantaneous, while in NEFT, it takes some time to settle payments. Yes, that is correct. So what happens in NEFT? It goes in slots. From 10 to 2, from 10 p.m. to 12 noon, 1 slot is there. So if you make a payment at 10 a.m., it will materialize at 12. If you make it at 11:59, it will materialize at 12. So there is a lag. It's not there in RTGS. In RTGS, the customer is charged for inward transactions, while that is not the case for the NEFT, is what they're saying. Yes. Third is operating hours for, let's look at the third. It's more easy. Operating hours for RTGS are restricted on certain days, while that is not true for the NEFT. So what are they saying? For RTGS, there will be some limited things, but that is not true. So what they're asking for the correct one over here. So this will be the correct option, because here the charges are for inward transactions are applicable. Now let's move ahead to the next question. That is 79. Question number, I think 79. Yes. Question number 79. Consider the following countries with respect to what? They've asked with respect to how many countries amongst the above are there other than India where international merchant payments are accepted under UPI. So we use UPI for payment transaction. They are asking how many countries. So which are these countries? It is accepted in UAE. Yes, it is accepted in UAE. It's not accepted in Bangladesh. It is accepted in Singapore. It is accepted in France. So three are the three countries it is accepted. It is not accepted in Germany and Bangladesh. So the correct option here will be B, that is only 3. I hope that's clear. Let me mark this. B, only 3 options are correct. So that is Germany is not a part and Bangladesh is of course not a part. So this ends the economic question, but few other questions are remaining. We'll finish that off as well. Question number 80. In fact, this probably you can take up as a current affairs question with respect to the scheme. So here the question says, consider the following statements with respect to Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Again, look at the central government scheme, complete Hindi nomenclature, right? Anyway, that's again, as I said, is a different discussion. Statement 1, it targets installation of 1 crore solar rooftop panels. Yes, in the residential sectors. That is correct. Statement 1 is correct. So this is gone. Statement 2, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy aims to impart training in installation, operation, maintenance and repairs. Yes. It's like the Surya Mitra concept wherein people were trained. So people will be trained here as well. Statement 2 is also correct. So this is gone. Now let's see about statement 3. Statement 3 says it aims to create more than 3 lakh skilled manpower through fresh skilling and upskilling under the scheme. Yes, it becomes quite factual. It is saying more than 3 lakhs. So that is quite factuality. But if you are, doing such a massive scheme, some amount of generic terms you should be knowing. So statement 3 is also correct. So all the statements are correct over here. So now let us go on to the last 2 remaining questions. Everything else has been covered subject wise. We now move on to question number 90 and 95. Let's look at question number 95. Consider the following activities: production of crude oil, refining, storage and distribution of petroleum, marketing and sale of petroleum products, production of natural gas. What is the question? How many of the above activities are regulated by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board in our country? Right? It is factual, but it is petroleum, so crude oil will not be the case. So production of crude oil is not, production of crude oil will be not. But refining, storage and distribution, yes. Marketing and sale, yes. So 2 and 3 are correct. Production of natural gas, no. It does not talk about production of this, but it talks about refining, storage, distribution, marketing, etc. If you know just this, 2 and 3 are correct. So B, only 2 statements are correct over here. Let's move on to the final question that is left. Question number 95, very factual. Either you know it or you don't know it. Also historical. So it is quite difficult to very factually say, but let's try to solve it. Consider the following statements: papaya, pineapple, guava. Like this, the questions have been asked previously also. For example, gunpowder, who introduced it? For example, various other elements have been asked previously. Who introduced that? So how many of the above were introduced in India by the Portuguese in the 16th and 17th centuries? So here the UPSC has clearly mentioned was in the 16th and 17th. If they have done it previously or later, no, we don't know. If some, right? So it is making it easier for you to being specific 16th and 17th century. So it is basically papaya and pineapple that has been introduced. Guava is not. Guava most probably introduced by the Spanish in India. So only 2 statements are correct over here. So the correct answer here becomes B, only 2. I hope this is clear. So this ends our detailed, and not detailed I would say, but the answer key explanation along with helping you how to eliminate and solve the questions, right? So after this, now we have looked at question by question, right? Now just wait for some time. We'll be going live right immediately after this video via a podcast wherein we will be discussing what was the nature of the paper. Was it easy, medium, difficult? We would also try to tell you what kind of cutoff you can expect over here, because that becomes very important. However, irrespective of that, I would advise all the students, right, after hearing do listen to that podcast. We will go live on that podcast. Just get an understanding what amount of cutoff can be there, and any person round about that, even slightly below than that, please start your mains preparation already. You can take a day's rest, right? You are probably still giving the paper, you are giving the paper for CSAT. After that, please take rest and start your mains preparation. And stay tuned to Legacy IAS Academy. We are going live immediately after this video via our podcast, wherein we will be discussing the entire paper, its nature, its difficulty level, and our Pawan sir will also be probably telling you what is the cutoff. His cutoff since the last few years have been pinpoint, right? So stay tuned to Legacy IAS Academy. Thank you so much.